If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 91, The Abandoned Dormitory. I suppose many of you have already heard. The Duel Club gathered all the new members, and the tall upperclassman stood at the front giving a speech. Yes, the Duel Club organizes rookie duels every year. On the one hand, it helps you adapt to competitive play faster, and on the other, it helps everyone bond. This year's in-club tournament will be in 2 weeks, so you have time to adjust your decks. Not long after, Kira noticed a lot of eyes on him. Not friendly ones. Senpai, does everyone have to participate? Someone asked. Of course. Why join the Duel Club if you won't duel? Some students groaned, especially those from our yellow dorm, looking utterly miserable. No way, another rookie exchange? Haven't we exchanged enough? Can't we skip it? Just thinking they might get matched with Kira made their backs go cold. They had to spend 3 years at school with him and probably duel him countless times. The future looked bleak. Well, that's all for today. You're dismissed, the Busta Senpai smiled. But the club encourages dueling anytime. Members can have a practice match to get to know each other. Senpai. I just remembered I left my kettle on. I gotta go. Me too. In a moment, most had bolted. These rookies are boring this year. The Busta Senpai crossed her arms and pouted. Then Kira walked up and smiled. Senpai, looks like there aren't many left. The practice match isn't happening. How about you and I have a round? The Busta Senpai gasped. Sorry, Kaoruhei. I just remembered I left my laundry out. I'll be going, haha. She turned and ran. No one to duel, Kira shrugged, not minding. It was fine. He'd gotten in plenty of duels at the club over the past 2 days. But most opponents only played him once. No one seemed to want a rematch. Reminded him of when he first arrived at the dojo. But he'd gained plenty. He'd earned a lot of DP points and found some interesting cards in the club's stock. One standout. Abyss Soldier, Level 4, ATK 1800. Effect, once per turn, discard a water monster to return a card on the field to its owner's hand. A rare card, but not too expensive, since water monsters are relatively niche. Regardless, it was worth its price, and Kira picked up 3. He was already imagining a fun new deck build. After dinner, he took a walk and headed back to the dorm early. Since arriving on the island, he'd kept a regular schedule: early to bed, early to rise. Teachers said duelists needed a good mental state, as poor conditions could affect performance. But tonight, soon after returning, Kira sensed something. He went to the window and saw the spirit of Black Luster Soldier floating outside, staring into the distance. That kind of reaction was rare. Kira opened the window. What's up? Black Luster Soldier hesitated, not sure, but, I sense a spirit. A spirit? On the island? Kira considered. Can you sense the direction? The soldier nodded. Kira grabbed his coat. Let's go check it out. He left the dorm and walked along the shore into the forest. The woods seemed cloaked in darkness, the moonlight barely lighting the damp ground, the air full of earth and leaves. Duel Academy Island was a mysterious place. Portals to the spirit world had appeared more than once in the original, each time to a different dimension. Random spirits, even the legendary dark magician girl, would show up. The anime said the Academy's location was one of the places closest to the spirit world, which explained why so many strange events happened. Dry leaves crunched underfoot, unnaturally loud in the quiet night, as if the woods whispered. The twisted shadows looked ready to reach out and drag you into the abyss. Kira soon arrived at an old building. It looked like an abandoned dorm, with peeling walls, exposed stone, and broken windows covered in webs, rattling in the wind. Is this the abandoned dorm? Kira realized. Rumor had it many students disappeared here, including Atticus Rhodes, Asuka's brother, once called one of the Academy's 2 aces alongside Zane. Of course, Atticus was the literal unbeatable myth. He never won on screen, despite lots of duels, so his reputation might be overrated. Then Kira heard rustling on the other side of the dorm. Someone was approaching. Cirrus, big bro, it's so dark and scary here. Maybe we should go back. What are you saying? Jaden was full of energy. If you're scared of this, what's the point of exploring? Chumley, you're the one who dragged us here, Jaden. At that moment, a branch snapped behind them. Cirrus and Chumley screamed and clung to each other, "It's a ghost." A flashlight swept over. Kira shielded his eyes and said calmly, "Don't worry, it's just me." They relaxed. "Jaden, hey? It's you." Fujiki Kira from RA Yellow Dorm. Chumley had seen Kira duel and heard the rumors. His expression was complicated. "Well, if it's Kira, nothing to worry about," Chumley laughed, scratching his head. "With you here, even ghosts would be scared off." Kira squinted, "That's harsh." He thought Chumley was a nice guy, didn't expect him to join in slandering. Sure, people sometimes lost their smiles after dueling him, but overall, he brought more joy. Even those he'd beaten seemed happy as spectators afterward. So overall, he brought more happiness through dueling. The academy rumors were just that, rumors. "So, what are you guys?" Kira asked. "Exploring," Jaden said proudly. "Professor Lyman told us about this place, sounds fun." Kira understood. So that's it. Tonight was the night in the story when Jaden and friends encountered the Shadow Duelist Titan. The first time a Shadow Duel appeared in GX. Chapter 92, just following Master's orders. Titan, the so-called Dark Duelist, was a fraud exposed by Jaden during their duel. He used hypnotic tricks to make opponents believe they were risking their souls in a shadow duel, then stole their rare cards afterward. Such people were known as rare hunters, and hated by all. In the story, Titan was hired by Professor Crowlier specifically to deal with problem student Jaden, Crowlier's biggest black mark. But from the 7 Stars arc and his reaction to shadow duels, it seemed Crowlier didn't believe in them, he just wanted Jaden expelled. "Oh, what a rare chance, Kira, want to duel?" Jaden's hands were itching. "I've wanted to duel you for ages." Here. Chumley scratched his head. "Probably not a good idea." "Cirrus, by the way, isn't sneaking into Forbidden Zone's grounds for expulsion? Maybe we should go back, brother." "It's fine." Jaden stood confidently. "Kira is a model student, he's here too, see?" Kira thought, "No, if we're caught, I'll probably be fine. Only you guys will get in trouble." In the anime, Jaden and Alexis were both caught, but only Jaden's group faced punishment. Alexis even asked to share the penalty but was refused. Duel Academy was a place where strength and results decided everything. Plus, Kira had busted Senpai's contact info, so, with a bit of exaggeration, he had connections in the school board. Getting expelled wasn't easy. Then another branch snapped behind them. "Ah! This time it's a real ghost." Chumley and Cirrus huddled together again. But it was just Alexis. "You guys?" Alexis was surprised. "What are you doing here?" "And?" She eyed Kira suspiciously. "Kira, aren't you from RA Yellow Dorm? Why are you with Jaden and the others?" "Just out for a night walk." "Ran into them," Kira said. "This isn't a place for walks," Alexis said seriously. "Haven't you heard? Lots of students disappeared here." "We heard, that's why we're exploring," the carefree Jaden laughed. "It's just rumors, right? We'll be fine." "It's not just rumors," Alexis insisted. "Many students disappeared here. And this place is off limits. If the school finds out, there'll be trouble." "Jaden, unfazed, if you're scared, why explore? Be serious." Alexis snapped. "This is serious. Not a place to mess around." "What about you? Why are you here at night?" Jaden asked. "Forget it, do what you want." Alexis huffed, walked a few steps, then paused, taking a deep breath. "One of the missing students is my brother." She left without looking back. Jaden sobered up, frowning. Cirrus whispered, "Bro, the abandoned dorm, maybe it's not just a rumor." "Yet. Anyway, we'll know soon," Jaden said, stepping over the caution tape. "Kira, you coming?" Kira shrugged and followed. There should be a spirit inside, might as well check it out. And he hadn't forgotten the lurking rare hunter. Moonlight streamed through the clouds, casting weird shadows on the dorm walls, twisting and stretching. A man pushed open the old wooden door and stepped inside. He was burly, wearing a long black cloak, a tall hat, and a metal half-mask. His dual disc was strapped to his chest. The so-called Dark Duelist Rare Hunter Titan. He was here tonight for the student called Jaden Yuki. The inside was even creepier, broken beds, scattered furniture, thick dust and webs, and a rotten smell. The wind howled through, echoing eerily. He'd heard the haunted rumors, but as a tough guy, he scoffed at them. No way he'd be scared by some ghosts. Titan wondered if he was seeing things. But out of the corner of his eye, he thought he saw a white figure dart across the broken glass. He jumped and spun around, but the hallway was empty, just the wind rattling the windows. Must be my imagination. But as he turned back, he caught another glimpse that made his hair stand on end. Just for an instant, but he saw a woman. A woman in white, snow pale, with long white hair, radiating cold energy. The wind sounded like wailing, sending chills down his spine. Wah! The tough guy screamed. Titan staggered back, terrified. But when he looked again, no one was there. Even he, tough as he was, felt half frozen. Damn, the ghost stories are true. So terrifying, his lifelong faith in materialism was shattered. That's right, the ghosts here were said to be the missing students. Titan rallied, I'm just passing by, wasn't me who hurt you. Don't worry, I'll get someone to investigate, clear your names. He turned to run. Forget the job, forget the rare cards. This academy was cursed, he'd never come back. But as he turned, the white-haired ghost was suddenly right in front of him, face to face. The chill overwhelmed him, stopping his heart. Ah! The silent magician brushed aside her messy silver hair, messed up by her master, peeking at the man. Seemed he'd fainted. She fixed her hair, pouting. She didn't like doing this. She was a noble light magician spirit, yet her master made her play ghost and steal decks. She felt like she'd boarded the wrong ship. Oh well. Just following master's orders. Chapter 93. Don't be afraid, it's just a ghost. Is it over? Kira took the deck handed over by Silence and slid it into an empty deck case tucked inside his coat. When heading out, he usually carried several deck boxes for different decks, one for the side deck, and a few empty ones reserved for captured spoils. Misawa wore 6 deck boxes on his chest as a daily routine. Jaden usually had 2 strapped behind his back. So generally speaking, counting the deck already loaded in the dual disc, it wasn't unusual to carry around 9 decks at a minimum without even needing a backpack. Kira opened the captured deck and glanced through it briefly. This duelist named Titan was just a 2-bit con artist who relied on cheap tricks and scams. In the anime, he didn't even duel properly. He knocked Alexis out from behind and kidnapped her to force Jaden into a duel. Even during the duel, he relied entirely on hypnosis and underhanded tactics. Once Jaden saw through his tricks, he immediately tried to flee. No dueling etiquette, no real skill, no need to play fair with a second-rate duelist like that. Just have a dual monster spirit beat him up directly, confiscating the tool of his crime. As expected, Titan used a fiend deck. It was at least a proper archetype, but none of the cards seemed particularly strong to Kira. Still, even if the cards weren't useful, they could be sold for a decent price. He'd already sold quite a few cards from previously looted decks. Turns out scavenging and selling decks could be a good source of income. Up to now, he'd made enough just from selling spare cards and dual discs to support himself for a while. Nice job. Well done, Kira said, patting Silence's head with a smile. Silence, who had been pouting unhappily the entire time, froze in surprise at the unexpected head pat. Her face turned slightly red with a hint of social anxiety, and in a flash, she turned into a streak of white light and vanished into the deck. Kira stared at his outstretched hand, reflecting. Was that Baki? From outside in the hallway came Jaden's voice, this room's empty too. Kira, find anything on your side, et. He walked in just in time to see the white silhouette disappearing into Kira's deck and blinked twice in surprise, then rubbed his eyes hard. I wasn't seeing things, right? Kira, that was. Winged Kuruba fluttered over and hovered by Jaden's side. Kuri. Ah, so I wasn't mistaken after all. Jaden beamed. You've got a spirit too, hey. Winged Kuruba nodded vigorously, though its whole body was just ahead, so it looked like it was bouncing around while flapping its wings. Kuri. Jaden nodded. Yeah, I know, buddy. Kira. Okay, seriously, how do you guys understand what Kuruba is saying? Every syllable sounds the same. Encountering another kindred spirit, Jaden excitedly pulled him aside. Ever since I was a kid, I've been hearing strange voices. It usually happened while I was dreaming someone calling my name at night. I often got up to check my deck. And then a spirit appeared. Nope, nothing happened, Jaden scratched his head awkwardly. Haha, I guess it's not that easy to meet a spirit. For a long time after that, I didn't hear anything. But lately, I've started hearing them again. He turned to winged Kuruba, who nuzzled him affectionately, squinting its eyes in delight. Curry curry. Kira got the gist. Jaden still remembered hearing spirits as a kid, but he'd completely forgotten about his first dual spirit. Poor Yubel. Yubel had been Jaden's first spirit reincarnated with him from a past life, vowing to protect him for eternity. But Yubel had gone overboard. Anyone who beat Jaden in a duel ended up as a vegetable. She was deemed a cursed card and was launched into space by Kaiba Corp. After that, Jaden suffered from constant nightmares about Yubel and eventually had his memory erased by his parents. So now, she was completely forgotten. Your spirit looks strong. Jaden said excitedly. Can you summon her for a bit? About that, Kira hesitated, she's shy. Jaden. At that moment, a scream came from another room. That sounded like Chumley and Sy. Jaden exclaimed, dashing out of the room and down the hallway. What happened? There was something. Something flew past. Cirrus stammered. This place is seriously haunted. Kira, walking slower, did see something. A small greenish wisp zipped past and vanished behind a door. And it looked familiar. Jaden blinked. I didn't see anything. Are you guys sure? We saw it. Chumley and I both saw it. Cirrus shouted. Kira, don't worry. It's just a ghost. Everyone. Don't you think there's something wrong with how you said that? But Kira wasn't joking. He remembered now it was a normal monster card, one of the super obscure ones he had only seen while cramming during Duel Academy's written exams. Phantom Ghost Level 2, ATK 600/Def 800. Described as a grudge spirit formed from souls that failed to pass on, it was literally a ghost. But this was the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! Even ghosts end up as cards. So even though it sounded scary, it was just a 600 ATK normal monster. Any decent spirit like Silence Magician could one-shot it. In this world, even ghosts aren't scary. What Kira was curious about was why monsters materialized out of thin air in this old dorm. Curry. Winged Kuruba soared ahead, gesturing for them to follow. Wait, Kuruba! Jaden shouted, hurrying after it. The others followed behind. They entered a decrepit, eerie room. Symbols were etched into the floor, clearly for some kind of ritual. The walls were covered in complex symbols and drawings, some depicting ancient Millennium items. Jaden wiped the dust off a stone tablet. Millennium items. Someone was researching shadow games here. Curry. Kuruba floated to his side, its tone serious this time. Suddenly, BLS materialized beside Kira, speaking gravely, be careful. The space here feels wrong. No sooner had he said that than the magic circle on the ground lit up. A blinding light enveloped Kira and Jaden. They both felt the ground vanish beneath them, spiraling into what felt like another world. Kira had felt this once before, just like when he had fallen into the spirit realm. Chapter 94: The Sacrificial Ritual. Since he had already experienced this once before, Kira was better prepared this time. He bent his knees slightly and landed steadily. A pungent stench assaulted his nose. The air was damp and moldy. The surrounding walls were worn and patchy from years of decay, with water stains spreading across the surface, forming abstract and eerie patterns. Completely different from the lush forest environment of the last time he entered the spirit world. Is this the spirit world again? Kira looked around. As he turned his head, he saw the silent magician standing nearby with her staff, vigilantly watching over him. After a moment's thought, he stepped forward and pinched her snow-white cheek. Yup. Same familiar texture. So, it is the spirit world again, he muttered. Silent magician. Why has my face become a test device? She pouted, then immediately turned into white light and vanished into the deck. Even in the spirit world, spirits could return to their cards. Here, they usually had physical forms by default. In the real world, materialization consumes extra energy. So, Kira turned to BLS and asked, is this still the same spirit world as before? BLS shook his head. No. This is not a world I'm familiar with. But I can feel it. The same evil taint spreads through this dimension. It's another world corrupted by the power of the evil god. Orichalcum? The Orichalcos? It's here too. As expected, that sneaky serpent Orichalcos had a huge appetite. Not only was it eyeing the real world, but it also had its sights on numerous spirit worlds. But this dimension's barrier between it and your duelist world has already weakened due to the evil god's intrusion, BLS continued. If necessary, I can tear through the barrier and return us to reality with my power at any time. That was reassuring to Kira. Since escape was possible at any moment, there was nothing to worry about. After all, the BLS was said to be capable of slicing through dimensions, definitely reliable. With BLS around, he didn't need to worry about getting lost in alternate dimensions anymore. He thought back to how, in the later part of the anime, the final boss Yubel also had powerful spatial abilities. Even when only partially awakened, just one arm, she could drag the entire Duel Academy into another dimension. Hopefully, BLS's spatial powers will be able to counter that in the future. Should we leave now? BLS asked. No rush, Kira said, standing up. Since they were already here, might as well look around. Also, based on the scene right before the transport, although Jaden's two AFK roommates were left behind, Jaden himself should have been transported too. Probably because he and Kira were the only two standing directly on the ritual pattern drawn on the floor, or maybe because they were both duelists with spirit energy. Either way, best to look around and see if Jaden was nearby. After taking only a few steps, Kira turned and nearly jumped in surprise. He saw corpses. Armored warrior corpses, with blood-stained swords discarded beside them. Skeletal mages in tattered robes, their staffs broken nearby. A huge pile of corpses had been dumped here. Then, from behind him, voices rang out. Someone was shouting in his direction. Hey! A straggler! A sacrificial offering! Someone else cried. Stop right there! Two figures ran toward him. Kira squinted and saw they were walking skeletons clad in armor, wielding swords and shields, helmets atop their skulls. The two skeleton soldiers slowed down as they neared him. Because they noticed, this sacrifice didn't seem like he planned to run at all. Sacrificial offering. You mean me? Kira asked. Of course. Who else? Kira considered. If Jaden's landing point wasn't far, he might have been nearby. Alright then. Lead the way. Where's the venue? Kira said casually. The skeletons looked at each other. Whoa, this offering seemed weirdly cooperative. Well, that made their job easier. The two skeleton soldiers flanked him front and back as if to prevent him from escaping. But soon they realized they were overthinking things. This offering wasn't trying to escape, in fact, he was a bit chatty. So, this ritual, Kira chatted like he was in a taxi, let me guess. It's a sacrifice to the great god Orichalcos. Both skeletons stiffened and turned to stare at him in shock. Why are you saying that name? One stammered. How do you know the true god's sacred name? Ah, just as he thought, minions of that damn sneaky snake. The taller skeleton looked at his partner and whispered, Big bro, do you think he's also a follower of the true god? Don't spout nonsense, the short one replied nervously. Even if he knows the name, he shows none of the divine blessings. The taller one nodded but still eyed Kira suspiciously. Tough job you've got, Kira continued casually. This place looks pretty run down. By the way, have you seen another human around here? Looks like me, red uniform, jellyfish hair, loudmouth. Skeletons. Unfortunately, the two blockheads didn't give up any useful info. After passing through several doors, they arrived at a huge, dark, and damp chamber like the entrance to an underworld. Moss covered the walls, and a large circular altar stood in the center, covered in creepy ritual items. Magic circles with glowing gems were etched into the floor around the altar, faint and cold. Giant pillars supported the ceiling, each carved with ancient runes. Several skeleton soldiers were stationed throughout. Kira also noticed some prisoners, chained and looking miserable. At the center of the altar stood a priest in grey-black robes. Under the hood was a gleaming skull. On its arm, a black mist coalesced into something resembling a dual disc. Opposite him was a blonde warrior in armor, also wearing a dual disc. He was half kneeling, clutching his chest, and coughing up blood. This ends now. The soul of a defeated warrior shall be offered as divine nourishment. The priest bellowed. I attack directly with myself. King of the Skull Servants, strike! A shadow split from the priest's body, forming a double. A tower of bones rose behind him, surging with undead magic that engulfed the warrior. Ah! The warrior screamed and collapsed. A green glow burst from the altar, and his soul was pulled from his body, spiraling into the air. Only then did Kira recognize the priest king of the Skull Servants. The king of the Skull Servants was a level 1 zombie-type monster, part of the Skull Servant archetype. Even sacrifices had to be made via duel. How perfectly Yu-Gi-Oh! Though, now that he thought about it, that seemed a bit risky. What if the priest lost and got sacrificed instead? Another soul offered to the true god, king of the Skull Servants proclaimed. The orichalco seal glowed on his forehead, and green flames danced in his hollow eyes. Next, another shackled warrior was dragged to the altar. Kira noted that every time a captive was brought up, their shackles were removed. Then a burst of golden light would form into a dual disc on their arm. Be grateful, king of the Skull Servants sneered. The god only consumes the souls of those who fall in battle. So, you are granted a chance to fight for your life. He raised his dual disc ominously. Of course, the outcome is already decided. Damn you! The new warrior growled, activating his dual disc. Kira watched one more duel and confirmed it. King of the Skull Servants was using a standard Skull Servant deck. His opponents, though, weak. Their decks had little power, no clear archetype, and certainly no destiny draw plot armor. They were probably average at best, worse than most Duel Academy students. Against such opponents, King of the Skull Servants was practically guaranteed to win. But after observing for a while, Kira also got a read on the priest's skill. He might have a hint of destiny power, but nothing particularly strong. And since Kira already knew what kind of deck he was using, winning shouldn't be hard. Before long, the second opponent also fell. Their soul was absorbed into the glowing green vortex. Next, King of the Skull Servants shouted again. The two skeletons who escorted Kira turned to grab him only to find the spot empty. They blinked and looked up only to see Kira had already climbed onto the altar by himself. All the skeletons. Everyone stared at the two skeleton guards as if asking, where did you find such a proactive sacrifice? The taller skeleton's jaw dropped before he whispered, he really must be a true god believer. Willing to sacrifice himself just to ensure the ritual succeeded. Such devotion put the skeleton's faith to shame. At that moment, Kira's silhouette looked heroic and noble in their eyes. Even the king of the Skull Servants was momentarily stunned. It wasn't until Kira activated his dual disc and impatiently asked, so, are you gonna duel or what? If not, I'm leaving. King of the Skull Servants. Chapter 95 King of the Skull Servants. The King of the Skull Servants pondered. Ever since he pledged loyalty to the true god and was granted this role, he had overseen countless sacrificial rituals and dealt with countless offerings. But such enthusiastic offerings were truly rare. Still, now that they were on the altar, there was only one thing to do, proceed with the ritual. Let's duel. X2. Kira LP, 4000. King of the Skull Servants LP, 4000. I'll go first. Draw. The King of the Skull Servants said coldly. I set one monster face down and set two cards in the back row. Turn end. From the surrounding skeleton soldiers came an eerie series of noises. Whether this was part of the ritual or just cheering was unclear. My turn. Draw. Kira had already observed the previous two duels before coming on stage. With the help of his spirit, he sensed that the green six-pointed star symbol etched on the altar emitted a power similar to the seal of orichalcos. But it didn't provide buffs or the shared zone effect of the seal. It was more of a dual arena that just happened to steal souls when someone lost. Summon Breaker the Magical Warrior. Breaker the Magical Warrior ATK, 1600. When Breaker is successfully summoned, he gains 1 spell counter and 300 ATK. By removing that counter, I can destroy a spell or trap card on the field. He pointed to the opponent's back row. Destroy the left set card. Breaker raised his sword, releasing a crescent-shaped energy slash. But the Skull King quickly responded. Too late. I chain the targeted card trap card, Needlebug Nest. Send the top 5 cards of my deck to the graveyard. 5 cards flew from his deck into a swirling black mist and fell into the graveyard. Breaker's sword strike missed entirely. Then, Breaker attacks your set monster. His sword sliced through the face-down card, revealing a skeletal form fragile and easily torn apart by the strike. White Mare Def, 200. I set one card. Turn end. Such a soft attack. But with that, you've taken one step closer to the abyss. My turn. Draw. Activate Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards. Then, with his bony fingers, he drew a third card. Activate Continuous Spell Call of the Mummy. Once per turn, if I control no monsters, I can special summon a zombie from my hand. So, I special summon White Prince. White Prince ATK, 0. At this moment, I activate Quick Play Spell Inferno Reckless Summon. When a monster with 1500 ATK or less is special summoned while my opponent controls a face-up monster, I can special summon all cards with the same name from my deck. Though, as a drawback, my opponent can do the same. 3 identical little white bones instantly appeared on the Skull King's field. I special summon 2 more Skull Princes. White Prince ATK, 0x2. Kira, then I'll special summon 2 more Breaker the Magical Warrior. Breaker the Magical Warrior ATK, 1600x2. Summoning them doesn't matter, because they'll all be dragged into the vortex of hell. The Skull King roared. I activate my set card trap card, Torrential Tribute. When a monster is summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. The trap flipped. A raging blue torrent swept across the field, destroying all 6 monsters, 3 White Princes and 3 Breaker the Magical Warriors on both sides. But at this moment, White Prince's effect activates. When sent from the field to the graveyard, I can send 1 Skull Servant and 1 Lady in White from my deck to the graveyard. I destroyed 3 White Princes, so I send 3 Skull Servants and 3 Lady in White, a total of 6 cards to the graveyard. Once again, a wave of cards flew into the black mist, his graveyard now packed with undead. Kira narrowed his eyes. The preparations were done. It was coming. Ha 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 ha. Now it ends. Watch. From the depths of hell, from the sea of bones that once slumbered, the king rises. From the abyss of death, I call upon myself. King of the Skull Servants, summon. A dark shadow split from the King of the Skull Servants' body, materializing on the field. The altar beneath their feet rotted and twisted, and towering bone structures rose behind him with howling whines. King of the Skull Servants ATK. King of the Skull Servants ATK equals 1000x the number of Skull Servants in my graveyard. The King of the Skull Servants declared. In my graveyard, I have 3 White Princes, 3 Skull Servants, and 3 Lady in White, each counts as Skull Servant. Plus the White Mare from the last turn, and 2 more Skull Monsters sent by Needlebug Nest, a total of 12. So, my ATK is King of the Skull Servants ATK, 12,000. Countless bone towers surrounded him, his form radiating an oppressive kingly aura. Skeleton soldiers howled. As expected of our king. He came out swinging with 12,000 attack. Behold! The ruler of the undead absolute power. Now become a sacrifice for the god. I attack directly with King of the Skull Servants. Kira, flip my set card quick play spell, Rebellion. Take control of one of your monsters during the battle phase. Nanny! The King of the Skull Servants screamed. I'm rebelling against myself? But during a duel, magic effects are absolute. King of the Skull Servants' duplicate froze mid-lunge, slapped its skull, and then zoomed across to Kira's field, now staring back at its original self with hollow, glowing eyes. Like it was saying, we're both King of the Skull Servants. Why do you get to duel while I have to follow orders? The skeleton audience stiffened. Did the king just start infighting? King of the Skull Servants. He gritted his teeth and growled. That spell only lasts for the battle phase. My turn ends. Come back to me, my double. The rebelling King of the Skull Servants reluctantly flew back to his original side. The one dueling glared at it as if saying, once this duel ends, you and I are having words. Kira, my turn. Draw. Activate spell card Graceful Charity. Draw 3, discard 2. King of the Skull Servants sneered. A hand-fixing card? Pointless. I have 12,000 ATK. Whatever you draw won't be enough to. Kira, activate spell card Brain Control. Pay 800 life points and take control of one of your opponent's monsters. King of the Skull Servants, what the hell? You're stealing me again? P.S. Read advanced chapter at patreon.com/absolutecode. Chapter 96 Rampaging King of the Skull Servant. Brain Control, a spell card that's been used many times in the anime. It costs just 800 life points to steal an opponent's monster and was once considered ban-worthy, though it was nerfed and eventually unbanned in 2017. That said, even in real life during the GX era, brain control hadn't been banned yet. It wasn't until 2010 deep into the 5DS era that it got locked up. Kira, LP 4000-3200. Naturally, Kira chose to take control of the King of the Skull Servant on the opponent's field. The brainwashed monster once again staggered in confusion and stumbled over to Kira's field. The original King of the Skull Servant looked as if his eye sockets were about to crack. If there's one thing worse than having your minions stolen mid-duel, it's getting stolen yourself. And yet, it wasn't even over. Of course, Kira said coolly, I don't have any Skull Servant monsters in my graveyard, so even though King of the Skull Servant is on my field, his ATK is just plain old 0. So, I'll tribute him for a tribute summon. Arise level 6 monster. Chaos Command Magician. The mighty King of the Skull Servant had barely spent a moment on Kira's field before he turned into golden light and vanished. The bone towers collapsed, magic energy burst skyward, and a vortex split open to reveal a sorcerer cloaked in chaos. Chaos Command Magician ATK 2400. Chaos Command Magician, direct attack. A burst of chaotic magic blasted from his staff, striking King of the Skull Servant square in the face. The skeletal body reeled backward, his robe smoking from the impact. The King of the Skull Servant steadied himself with a groan. Ugh, damn you! King of the Skull Servants, LP 4000-1600. Kira, I'll set 2 cards. Turn end. Don't get cocky. I am the King of the Skull Servants. I am immortal. King of the Skull Servants stood tall. My turn. Draw. Activate spell card spell books from the pot. Both players draw 3 cards. He drew from his deck. Next, I activate a Feather of the Phoenix. Discard 1 card to return a card from my graveyard to the top of my deck. I discard a card to return King of the Skull Servants to my deck. Then I activate White Prince's effect in the graveyard. By banishing White Prince and 2 other skull cards from the graveyard, I can special summon the returned King of the Skull Servants from the deck. I banish White Prince, Skull Servant, and Lady in White. The 3 cards turned into dark mist and vanished, opening a swirling black portal. From it, a powerful presence surged forth. Bone towers rose again as the King of Bones returned. King of the Skull Servants ATK. This time, I have 3 fewer skull monsters in my graveyard. But the card I discarded earlier was another White Prince's. So now I have 10 skull cards total. That makes my ATK. King of the Skull Servants ATK 10,000. Skeleton soldiers below the altar chanted. Back to 10,000 ATK like it's nothing. As expected of King of the Skull Servants. The offerings have no chance. But I'm not done yet. King of the Skull Servants glared at Kira. He was starting to realize this offering was different. Barely a few turns in, and his doppelganger had already been mind-controlled twice. He was starting to feel like this guy didn't want to win the duel, but rather, just really wanted to steal him. This disturbing kink made him increasingly wary. You're not like the others, King of the Skull Servants growled. But the result will be the same. I've defeated countless enemies and clawed my way through hills of corpses and endless bones to get to where I am. What I've been through is beyond your imagination. He wasn't born a king, just another common skeleton in a sea of the undead. But he endured. Trained under the greatest martial artists. Fought in countless wars of the undead. He'd lost before, fallen before, but he always rose again. He finally defeated everyone in his way, rose from a literal mountain of corpses, and transformed from a roadside skull into a king, even managing to marry the lady of his dreams. He was the King of Bones, the ruler of this undead land. And he absolutely would not tolerate being humiliated like this, especially on his turf. Activate the effect of White Mare in my hand. He slapped a card into the graveyard and roared. By discarding this card, I can special summon a previously banished Lady in White from the banished zone. So, I summon the Queen of the Skeletal Realm, my beloved. Lady in White. A skeleton with some elegant noblewoman flair appeared on the field. Whether anyone could look at a literal skeleton and think what beauty, remained to be seen. The Lady in White def 2200. Lady in White raised her head coldly to assess the battlefield. Had to call me out, didn't you? She said dryly. Haha, yeah, needed your help after all, King of the Skull Servants laughed awkwardly. Now that my lady's here, I am invincible. When Lady in White is on the field, All level 3 or lower zombie monsters except herself cannot be destroyed in battle, nor affected by spells or traps. An aura of undead magic surrounded them, shielding the King of the Skull servants with an invisible resistance field that danced like a deathly cyclone between them. Your cheap tricks won't work anymore. King of the Skull servants shouted. Plus, since White Mare was sent to the graveyard, my total number of skull monsters has increased again. My ATK up once more. King of the Skull servants ATK 10,000 11,000. This ends now. King of the Skull servants attacks Chaos Command Magician. Flip trap card Sprit Barrier. Kira's set card flipped open. As long as I control a monster, I take 0 battle damage. Chaos Command Magician was blasted apart by the King of the Skull servant's strike, but instead of dispersing, the energy he released formed a spiritual barrier in front of Kira. The undead blast spread across the protective trap layer, causing no actual damage. TCH, so you're using traps to barely hang on another turn. Fine turn end. Kira, in your end phase, I activate trap card Burst Rebirth. Pay 2000 LP to special summon one monster from my graveyard in the face-down defense position. I choose the monster discarded by Graceful Charity. Kira, LP 3200 1200. Kira pulled a card from the graveyard. Dark the Dark Charmer, Gloomy, face-down defense position. A face-down monster appeared on Kira's field. Still turtling behind traps. King of the Skull servants sneered. Well, against our perfect husband and wife synergy, what else can you do? With my queen by my side, I have no weakness. My turn. Kira pointed at his set monster. Flip summon Dark the Dark Charmer, Gloomy. When flipped, I take control of one dark attribute monster on your field. I'll take your lady in white. King of the Skull servant began rolling up his sleeves. That's it. I'm fighting you myself. Chapter 97. A family should stay together. King of the Skull servant's hollow eye socket stared blankly across the field, his gaze fixed and unmoving. He was dumbfounded. Truly. He thought getting brainwashed and dragged over to the opponent's side was already the lowest point of humiliation a monster could suffer in a duel. He never expected there could be something worse. The furthest distance in the world isn't life and death. It's standing on one side while your wife is standing on the other. Held hostage in the hand of the most despicable card thief he'd ever met, King of the Skull servant felt the ultimate combination of shame and helplessness, forced by an unbreakable rule of duel mechanics to submit and obey the enemy. Oh, and he had to watch it all unfold. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. King of the Skull servant and his on-field duplicate looked like they were about to blow a fuse. Don't worry, my dear. King of the Skull servant shouted. I'll beat this little brat and save you. Just hang in there. Before he could finish, Kira revealed another card from his hand. Activate the effect of Marionette Might in my hand. By discarding this card to the graveyard, I can take control of an opponent's zombie monster. I'll take your King of the Skull servant. King of the Skull servant. Dual magic was absolute unbreakable. A second later, King of the Skull servant watched helplessly as his duplicate trotted off to the enemy's field. Then right in front of him the duplicate gently took Lady in White's delicate skeletal hand. My lady. I've come to rescue you. You've suffered enough. Lady in White's voice trembled, my king. The King of the Skull servant duplicate nodded firmly. It's over now. We're together again. Back on the other side of the field, King of the Skull servant felt like he'd been hit in the chest with a sledgehammer. His vision went dark. The world spun. You son of a, cough cough cough. Clutching his chest, he was so enraged he couldn't even speak. If he weren't made of bones, he'd probably be coughing up blood. Banish Chaos Command Magician, Light, and Breaker the Magical Warrior, Dark, from my graveyard. Kira raised a card high. Light and Dark Souls, sacrificed to the chaotic plane. I summon the ultimate warrior of legend. He who opens the heavens level 8. Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the Beginning. The souls of Light and Dark shot upward, spiraling into a vortex. Energy surged, light exploded, and a blade of chaos cut through the shining curtain. The warrior emerged from the magical torrent. Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the Beginning ATK, 3000. His arrival stirred a storm of chaos, and an invisible pressure swept across the field. The skeleton soldiers trembled uncontrollably, as if feeling a difference in power level they couldn't comprehend. Strangely, the one who should have felt this pressure the most. King of the Skull Servants stood still, deaf to the warrior's presence. His gaze never once shifted. He was locked on the sight of the King of the Skull Servants duplicate, holding hands with Lady in White gently, intimately. This is enough. This way, we can be together forever. My king. Original King of the Skull Servants. Black Luster Soldier, direct attack. Chaos Twin Slash. Kira commanded. The twin blades of light and dark slashed through space, a chaotic vortex consuming the battlefield. Even up until the moment the blade devoured him, King of the Skull Servants' gaze remained fixed not on his opponent, but on the couple across the field. In those final moments, he couldn't help but wonder. Was I truly too ruthless in life? Is this karma? Is this naive little brat the retribution that fate sent to torment me in the cruelest way possible? Well, at least it's finally over. Let it end. Please. Bone life was suffering. King of the Skull Servants LP, 1600. The green magic circle contracted. King of the Skull Servants' soul shot skyward, pulled into a swirling vortex, and vanished. His duplicate followed soon after. And not just him, the entire Skull family was absorbed into the skyward beam. King of the Skull Servants, Lady in White, White Prince, White Princes, all gone. It appeared that in this altar's sacrificial rituals, when a duelist lost, it wasn't just their LP that vanished. The souls of the monsters in their deck were also taken. On the bright side, at least the whole family was now together. Forever. A family should always stay together. Kira stepped forward and pulled the deck off King of the Skull Servants' fallen body. Though the soul of the king was now gone, the deck still physically existed. There were no spirits left within, but it was still usable. Don't worry. You can rest in peace, Kira said sincerely. I'll make good use of your cards, your wife's and your children's. I won't let them go to waste. Or at least I'll sell them for a decent price. Well, details. After all, Skull Servant decks weren't exactly rare. You could buy them in most places. Kira continued looting. But there wasn't much to find on a skeleton. Even the dual disc seemed to be part of the king's own body, a magical construct that couldn't be removed. He did, however, find a small green crystal. What's this? A fragment of Orichalcos, said BLS. BLS had once fought the Orichalcos forces in his dimension, so he had at least some familiarity with it. Is it dangerous? BLS shook his head. No. It's just a symbol of authority bestowed upon regional agents by the evil god. It means this individual was an enforcer or proxy ruler of this territory. Kira understood. So, it's a command token? His thoughts began racing. So hypothetically, if someone had this, could they infiltrate the organization? That, I'm not sure about, BLS replied. Even within the Orichalcos ranks, only high-ranking lieutenants received these tokens, not just any grunt. So even he hadn't seen many of them. A regional commander, hey. Kira glanced back at the now defeated King of the Skull Servants. So, this guy was a mini-boss. Having collected the spoils, Kira turned to face the skeleton soldiers below the altar. With Black Luster Soldier having appeared earlier, the skeletal crowd had already been terrified into silence. After witnessing what happened to the King of the Skull Servants, not one dared move. Their simple skull brains could barely process what had just happened. As far as they could tell, the king's wife got taken. Then the king himself got taken. Then the king died. Good news, the sacrificial ritual was a complete success. Bad news, the priest got sacrificed. But one thing was very clear. This man was not to be messed with. Kira hopped off the altar and landed before the skeletons. All right then, he said. I've got a few questions. P.S. Read advanced chapters at patreon.com/absolutecode. Chapter 98, The Spirit Tribe. With the King of the Skull Servants gone, the remaining skeleton soldiers quickly lost their will to fight. Kira took control of the situation within a few moves and completely cleared the battlefield. The captured spirits were all rescued as well. Having witnessed the King of the Skull Servants' descent from wrath to demise, they were utterly in awe of Kira, showering him with the reverent cries of a brave hero. So even in this dimension there's a hero prophecy trope. Kira muttered. He wanted to say, no, I'm not a hero. At best, I'm a fanfiction MC. Through chatting with the locals, Kira got a rough idea of the backstory here. The King of the Skull Servants was a monarch who rose up from a sea of ordinary bones. He unified the undead factions in the area and built an army. But his aggression became a threat to neighboring towns, which led to conflicts with nearby warriors of other races. Eventually, the undead were defeated. The king of the skull servants disappeared and wasn't seen for a long time. Peace lasted for a while until the sky above this dimension was torn open by a swirling vortex of darkness. The evil god descended, casting its eye on this spirit dimension. It chose 2 agents here and granted them powers of conquest and vengeance. One of them was the long-lost king of the skull servants, resurrected from some nameless graveyard. The other was said to be a knight from an insectoid race. The 2 Orichalco's empowered agents swept across the land like an unstoppable force, invincible. Until today. Hearing all this, Kira thought to himself. If these were the best scouts that sneaky snake Orichalcos could find for this world, that's honestly kind of disappointing. A dirt-covered wizard spirit exclaimed, "We heard legends from long ago that a hero from another world would wield the great power of cards. He would come from the warrior dimension and defeat the evil god, bringing light." Kira pondered. Was this saying that duelists from outside this world were, in general, stronger than the native spirits? Even if many spirits had innate supernatural abilities, they still needed skilled duelists to truly unlock their full potential. Spirits were like elite soldiers. No matter how powerful, they still needed a brilliant commander to win wars. He naturally asked if anyone had seen Jaden, but unfortunately, no one seemed to have seen a red-coated, jellyfish-haired guy. "If the brave hero doesn't mind, perhaps you'd like to visit our town," one of the spirits offered. "It's the only settlement nearby. If you're looking for someone, that's your best bet." Kira thought about it. He didn't really have a better idea right now, so he followed them. That said, he wasn't too worried about Jaden's safety. That guy was born with a natural card body and was the reincarnation of the strongest being from one of the 12 dimensions. Sure, he might be running a low-level alt account right now, but he wasn't someone you could mess with casually. They emerged from the damp cavern, and Kira realized he had been underground this whole time. Outside the door, bones were piled up like mountains. They followed a winding path through the forest, and just before descending the mountain, Kira spotted a massive sculpture in the valley below. It was enormous, tens of meters tall, standing alone in a desolate village. A divine statue in the form of a phoenix, with intricately carved feathers that almost seemed alive, though now eroded by the passage of time. The ancient stone was cracked and weathered. The village itself was abandoned. Old stone houses and streets were overrun with weeds and vines. From a distance, the statue looked oddly familiar. Kira couldn't help but ask, "What's that?" "Oh, just an ancient ruin," the chatty mage spirit explained. "Legend has it that a long time ago, a tribe lived there that worshipped the phoenix god." Phoenix god? Could it be the sacred phoenix of Nephthys? Kira immediately recalled the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh!, where that card was a powerful monster. When destroyed by a card effect, it could resurrect itself and wipe out the opponent's back row, a top-tier card that had once been restricted. Eventually, it even got its own Nephthys archetype. "That's all from long ago," the mage spirit said, shaking his head. "I've only heard the stories. No one knows how many years the place has been abandoned. They say it was a powerful tribe of devout phoenix followers. They protected a sacred relic passed down for generations. They could commune with gods, were blessed by the phoenix, and could even summon its avatar. But something happened, no one knows what. Legend says some extinction-level disaster struck. After that, the tribe vanished, leaving only the ruins and this forgotten statue behind." A spirit with an axe chimed in. "If the Phoenix tribe still existed, maybe with their god's power and an alliance with us, we wouldn't have ended up like this." "Well, who's to say?" The mage sighed. "Maybe the evil god saw them as a threat and wiped them out preemptively." The spirits all shook their heads, falling silent. Kira gazed once more at the towering phoenix statue as he descended the mountain. Though it had clearly weathered the passage of time, its luster long gone, it still emanated dignity and vitality. Especially its eyes, carved to seem alive. They had watched countless sunrises and sunsets, witnessed rise and ruin. Whether it now gazed into the past or hoped for the future, no one could tell. Kira made a mental note of the sight. He figured he'd check it out properly before he left. Maybe if I flash a handsome smile and a charming personality, the Phoenix god will be so moved it revives on the spot? Or if that doesn't work, I'll drag Jaden over with me. Even if the Phoenix god doesn't care about me, surely it'll respect Jaden, the reincarnated supreme duelist with literal plot armor?" They arrived at the spirit town. The townsfolk rejoiced when the captured warriors returned safely. And upon hearing that the hero of prophecy had defeated the king of the skull servants, they all turned to Kira with expressions full of awe and worship. Kira didn't recognize 90% of them, though he figured most were common folk in the spirit world. If they were ever turned into cards, they'd probably be low-level normals. But when a golden-haired captain in armor stepped forward to greet him, Kira recognized him at once. Wasn't this guy the cannon fodder? Wait, no. He was the famous one who led a suicide charge into enemy lines, right? Chapter 99, The Captain Wants to Learn How to Duel. Since this was a monster card widely used in the outside world, Kira was sure he wouldn't mistake it. Standing before him was indeed the marauding captain. Or, well, it was the right monster, but he looked a little different. He was still wearing the armor from the card art, but he held no sword, and over his armor, he'd donned a white apron. Perched atop his head was a chef's hat, making him look rather comical. So, it seemed that when the captain wasn't charging into battle, he doubled as a hidden chef. Kira's expression was a bit odd. He felt like he'd seen this look in some card art before. I've already sent someone to find the companion you mentioned. Following the captain, Kira arrived at what looked like a camp for gathered warriors. The captain warmly invited him to sit and brought over a bowl of hot soup. Here, have a taste, the captain said cheerfully. I dabble in cooking, and I'm fairly confident in my skills. This is a new dish I developed today, and everyone who's tried it has given it high praise. A passing warrior muttered under his breath, that's because anyone who didn't like it is still lying down and can't talk. The captain turned and glared, making the warrior scurry away. Kira. He remembered now there was indeed a card called Marmiting Captain, which depicted the captain cooking in camp. Technically, it should still be the middle of the night in the outside world, and after all this running around, Kira was a bit hungry. But since it was unproven whether spirit food was safe for humans, he prudently declined. We've gathered all the local spirits with fighting ability, but the minions of those evil gods are too strong. Our troops have been suffering heavy losses, pushed back step by step. If the hero hadn't arrived just in time. He turned solemnly. I want to thank you on behalf of my rescued comrades and everyone in this camp. No need. I just happened to pass by, and I don't intend to stay long, Kira replied honestly. If you're hoping we'll stick around to help you fight, you'll probably be disappointed. That's fine. We understand. The evil god's true body is in the duelist's world. If the source isn't dealt with, defeating a Skull King here means another puppet will be raised. The captain's expression suddenly turned serious. But what I want to say is... He stood, walked to a sealed box at the side of the camp, and unlocked it with great ceremony. It looked like he was about to unveil the village's best sword, but when he opened the box and pulled out the item, it turned out to be a unique kind of dual disc. It was shaped like a sword, sheathed in a heavy scabbard. Worn on the back, it would look just like a great sword. Kira couldn't help but picture the scene, a wandering swordsman, drawing his dual disc like a sword from his back with a dramatic flourish, loading his deck, and challenging his foe to a duel. Well, maybe that's just how it worked in the spirit world. I heard you easily defeated the Skull King, hero, and possess rare and formidable strength. The captain knelt on one knee, looking earnest. Please teach me the secrets of dueling. It's because I'm too weak and incompetent that so many comrades have fallen, so many have left. I don't want this to go on. I want the power to protect everyone, to protect our home. Master, I want to learn how to duel. Kira. He thought for a moment. Well, I did defeat the Skull King. But my dueling style might be a bit different from yours. Duelists in the anime world were already pretty straightforward, but spirits seemed even more straightforward in their dueling style. He'd thought before, if a spirit's deck was an extension of itself, shouldn't they have maxed out bonds, and be better at top decking than duelists? But in reality, it seemed that the ones at the true pinnacle of dueling were always the duelists, and spirits performed better as warriors under powerful duelists than fighting on their own. Now, if you weren't a top-decking god like Jaden, Kira did have some methods for quickly picking up dueling. But he wondered if those methods would be considered the wrong path by such pure-hearted spirits. But the captain seemed to misinterpret his hesitation. Maybe he thought power always comes at a price, which, in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh!, is often true. Many powerful cards require a strong soul to wield, and cards that grant extraordinary luck often come with serious side effects. Determination flashed across the captain's face, and he gritted his teeth. No matter what happens to my body or soul, I don't care. If I can gain the power to protect everyone, I'd even sell my soul to a demon or become a demon myself if needed. Kira, no, that's not what I meant. He sighed and stood up. Never mind, since we're just waiting anyway. If you want to learn, let's have a duel, and I'll demonstrate for you. He'd thought duels in the spirit world had to be to the death, but BLS had told him that wasn't the case. Spirits could duel to the death or just for points, it didn't always have to end in tragedy. And that made sense. If every duel ended in death, wouldn't the first lesson be for the apprentice to kill their master? So, a little later, the two headed outside the camp, set up their duel discs and prepared to duel. Spirits nearby, having heard that the captain and the hero from another world were about to duel, hurried over to watch. Alright, so today's opponent was the marauding captain himself. Kira, spell card the Forceful Sentry. I look at your hand and return one card to your deck. Kira, trap card Reggie Break. Discard a card from my hand, and destroy your first monster. Kira, I activate the effect of Puppet Plant in my hand. Discard it to take control of one of your warrior monsters. I'll take your second monster. Kira, Marauding Captain, direct attack on Marauding Captain. The captain, now under Kira's control, leaped up mercilessly, his sword flashing as he swung it down. Thankfully, Kira had him hold back at the last second, the blade just grazing the original captain's shoulder before slamming into the ground, sending up a shower of sparks. Marauding Captain, LP0. The captain, nearly cut down by his sword, gazed up at the sky. He began to ponder why spirits even bothered to live, and why he'd gotten himself into a duel with a hero even scarier than the evil gods. P.S. Read advanced chapters at patreon.com/absolutecode. Chapter 100, Stealing the Spotlight. The duel was over in just a few minutes, but the entire camp was dead silent. How to put it? The hero's style of dueling was not what they'd expected. Two spirits who'd returned from the Skull King's cave were among the crowd. When they saw the captain challenging the hero to a duel, one of them wanted to warn him. But the other held him back, laughing, "No rush, let's see how this goes. It might be interesting." The first spirit thought about it and agreed. So, they said nothing and watched the captain get beaten up, munching on seeds as they did. As expected, it was great fun. The captain, floored by his sword, closed his eyes and replayed the duel in his mind. Looking back, he realized he hadn't done anything the entire duel. Every card he drew was either discarded before he could play it, was destroyed the moment it hit the field, or was just stolen by the opponent. Honestly, if not for his respect for the hero, he'd have been tempted to just ditch the duel disc and draw his sword to fight for real. But after cooling down and thinking over the duel, he realized if he could master such techniques, and bring those kinds of duels against the hated evil god's minions. The captain couldn't help but grin. Hee hee, hee 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 hee. He burst out laughing. The other spirits exchanged glances, looking worried. Did the duel break the captain? Just then, a warrior burst in from outside. "Captain! Report!" The warrior hurried over. "The red-clad outsider you asked me to find, the one with the jellyfish hairstyle, I think I found him." Meanwhile, Jaden was eating. If it had been any other student, they'd have freaked out after falling into another world. But not the thick-skinned Jaden. After a brief panic, he quickly accepted it, wandered around, and even helped an old lady pushing a heavy cart, acting like a model citizen. Then, after being invited in for dinner, he ate 3 big bowls before waddling off to explore some more. Wait! Now's not the time to be eating." Jaden sighed. "Kira is here too, I need to find him. Plus, I have to get back to the academy before dawn, or I'll get expelled." The winged Kuruba floating by his side, curry. Kuruba was thinking, actually, getting expelled isn't our biggest problem right now. Hey! Jaden suddenly grabbed Kuruba, finally realizing, wait, why can't I touch you now, winged Kuruba? He still hadn't realized he was in the spirit world. Curry! Kuruba suddenly cried out, flapping its wings and knocking Jaden aside. Jaden fell over, and a poisoned dart whizzed past where he'd been standing, sticking into the ground. What? Jaden turned and saw, on a slope nearby, an insect-like creature. It wore armor, wielded a sword and shield, and stood upright, but its head was insectoid. An insect knight. Wait, haven't I seen you before? Jaden slapped his forehead, suddenly realizing. Wait, aren't you a card? Insect knight, Level 4, ATK 1900, Normal. The insect knight snorted. So you're a duelist. My scout said the Skull King was defeated by an outsider warrior. Was that you? Jaden, confused, Skull King. The insect knight jumped down, ready to attack again, but suddenly sensed something and his face changed. A surge of sword energy slashed toward him from behind. It was a sudden sneak attack, no time to react. But the ground behind him burst open, and an insect spirit leaped out, blocking the blow and being blasted to pieces. That was one of the knight's subordinates from his deck. Even so, the insect knight was sent rolling by the shockwave. Looking up, he saw the black luster soldier descending from the sky, his blade wreathed in swirling light and darkness. A legendary warrior. The insect knight was shocked, but reacted quickly, drawing a card as he rolled. Mirror Force. The iconic trap Mirror Force, capable of destroying even the strongest monsters. But the energy beam struck a golden barrier around BLS and faded. It didn't work. The insect knight was stunned. Another protective spell. BLS was protected by Power of the Guardians, an equip spell that accumulates counters and protects the monster from being destroyed by battle or effects. At the same time, the insect knight felt a chill behind him. He caught a glimpse of a white-robed, silver-haired mage, staff glowing with magic, ready to blast him. Attacks coming from both sides, nowhere to run. But counter trap negate attack. A powerful vortex exploded around him, sucking in the black luster soldiers and silent magicians' attacks, and sending both reeling from the backlash. Whew, that was close. The insect knight got up and looked coldly at the two spirits, then at the direction where their duelist must be hiding. So, there's more than one outsider here. Kira stepped out. Ah, guess we'll have to solve this with a duel, hey. The quick exchange of attacks felt like a throwback to the Pharaoh's Memories arc Pokemon-style monster brawls. Maybe that's why duelists have to settle things by card games. Unless someone has a spirit like an Egyptian god card that can solo the whole field, with unlimited monster summons and special skills, there's never a clear winner. So, you're the duelist who beat the Skull King. But it doesn't matter who you are, those who trespass in the domain of the gods must become sacrifices. The insect knight brandished his duel disc. Enough talk, let's duel. Jaden, still dazed, hadn't caught up with what was happening. But one thing was clear, Kira was about to duel. Jaden muttered, actually, I kinda want to duel a spirit myself. As the protagonist with the most duels in all of Yu-Gi-Oh!, this might be the first time someone stole his duel. Chapter 101, please begin your performance. It's better if I use this deck against you, Kira said, pulling a deck from his case and inserting it into his duel disc. Humph, it doesn't matter what you use, the insect knight replied confidently. Before the power my god has granted me, all decks are equally weak. Through battle, you will become my master's sacrifice. Duel. X2. I'll go first, draw. Kira said. I play the spell card Pot of Greed to draw 2 cards. Then I set a monster face down. Next, I activate. A spell card appeared in front of him. Spell card Foolish Burial. I send 1 monster from my deck to the graveyard. Kira pulled a card from his deck. I send Sinister Serpent to the graveyard. He drew 2 more cards. Set 2 cards face down. Turn end. The insect knight, my turn, draw. I activate spell card Destruction. We both discard our hands and draw the same number. He drew, then revealed another card. Now, from my hand, Azdi-Kaipt, the Worm Warrior. I can special summon it by banishing an insect in my graveyard. He pulled out a card from his graveyard. I banish Delta Flyer from the graveyard to special summon Azdi-Kaipt, the Worm Warrior. The ground rumbled as the monstrous bug burst out, dripping with slime. Azdi-Kaipt, the Worm Warrior, ATK 1900. Now, I play Monster Reborn to revive a monster from my graveyard. I'll revive Resonance Insect. Resonance Insect, ATK 1000. Kira raised an eyebrow. Regardless of the deck's strength, Resonance Insect is a good card. When it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a level 5 or higher insect from your deck to your hand. If it's banished, you can send another insect from your deck to the graveyard. Seeing this card, Kira couldn't help but think of Watanabe Shuichi's Doom Dozer. In early formats, Doom Dozer was a powerful insect boss. Banish 2 insects from your graveyard to special summon a 2800 ATK beater, and you could trigger Resonance Insect along the way. Well, Kira wasn't interested in playing insects, but it never hurts to keep one of these around. After all, once this duel's over, the cards will probably be up for grabs. Battle. First, Aztekype, the worm warrior attacks your face-down monster. The Aztekype burrowed underground and burst out from Kira's field. The card flipped, revealing a sword-wielding penguin. Penguin soldier effect, Kira said. When flipped, I can return up to 2 monsters on your field to your hand. I'll choose Aztekype, the worm warrior and resonance insect. The insect knight. Both monsters bounced back, leaving his field empty. TCH, a bounce effect. The 2 insects weren't just for attacking resonance insect, had been his backup plan. If the opponent destroyed it, he could search for his ace, Doomdozer, and go for a final assault. But now that they'd bounced back, his plan was foiled. No matter. I haven't done my normal summon yet, the insect knight said. I set a monster and 1 face-down card, then end my turn. He set resonance insect again, same effect. The insect knight sneered inwardly. Go on, destroy my resonance insect. That will be your downfall. My turn, draw, Kira said. At this moment, my sinister serpent in the graveyard activates. During my standby phase, I can return it to my hand. Old effect. It might seem weak, but the ability to recycle itself every turn made it a powerful resource engine, eventually getting it banned. The real card was only unbanned when its effect was nerfed in 2015. But in this world, Sinister Serpent still had its old effect, and looked like a total junk card, so Kira easily got 3 copies. Spell card Graceful Charity, draw 3, discard 2. He sent 2 cards to the grave. Now, the discarded Witch of the Black Forest activates when sent to the graveyard. I can add a monster with 1500 or less def from my deck to my hand. I choose. He drew a card and showed it. Abyss Soldier, def 1300. After shuffling his deck, he added Abyss Soldier to his hand, then revealed another card. Continuous spell Water Hazard. Once per turn, if I control no monsters, I can special summon a level 4 or lower water monster from my hand. I special summon Abyss Soldier. Abyss Soldier, ATK 1800. The insect knight kept a straight face. Come on, attack and destroy my resonance insect. Abyss Soldier's effect, Kira continued. Once per turn, I discard a water monster to bounce any card on the field. I discard Sinister Serpent to return your face-down monster to your hand. The insect knight. Again? For the second time, resonance insect was bounced back to his hand. The insect knight's face twitched. Is my insect ever going to stay on the field? Kira, then I normal summon a second Abyss Soldier. Abyss Soldier, ATK 1800. Again? The knight's eyes narrowed. That can't be allowed. I activate my trap card Trap Hole. He shouted. When a monster with 1000 plus ATK is summoned, destroy it. Not so fast. Kira calmly flipped a face-down card. Continuous Trap Royal Decree. All trap cards on the field are negated. The insect knight, Nanny. He could only watch as his trap hole was crushed by the power of Royal Decree. Even Jaden, watching, looked surprised. Kira runs that card? Doesn't that mess with his traps? Battle double direct attack with Abyss Soldier. Both soldiers rushed forward, tridents slashing water trails across the insect knight, who screamed and was knocked down. Insect knight, LP 4000 LP 400. In one turn, he's down to just 400 life points. Jaden's eyes sparkled as he watched Kira. So cool. He wanted to duel Kira even more now. You bastard. The insect knight struggled up, blood pouring from his wounds. My battle phase is over, but my turn isn't. Kira revealed one more card. I activate my second Abyss Soldier's effect, discard a water monster to bounce a card on the field. I discard another Sinister Serpent. Jaden. The insect knight. Both were momentarily confused. Bounce again? But the insect knight's field was empty, there was nothing to bounce. Abyss Soldier can bounce any card, including my own. So, I'll return my own Royal Decree to my hand. Jaden. The insect knight. What? Even the insect knight realized the problem now. Whenever he wanted to use traps, Kira would activate Royal Decree and lock him down. But whenever Kira wanted to use his traps, he'd just bounce Royal Decree back to his hand. The insect knight was panicking. So only he couldn't use traps? I set 3 cards face down and end my turn. Now, Kira's field showed 1 face-up royal decree and 2 mysterious face-downs. Kira smiled and gestured politely. Go ahead, please begin your performance. P.S. Sinister Combo. Read advanced chapters at patreon.com/absolutecode. Chapter 102, Abyss Control. Abyss Soldier, a monster card that made quite a splash when it first came out. By discarding a card from your hand, you could bounce any card on the field, making it an excellent removal option as well as a way to recycle your cards. However, since it required you to discard a water monster and water was an unpopular attribute at the time, and because the effect was inherently a -1 in card advantage, it wasn't widely used in most mainstream decks. Thus, leveraging the wisdom of duelists everywhere, a deck built to maximize Abyss Soldier's potential was created, Abyss Control. As the name suggests, this deck is entirely built around Abyss Soldier. Its best partner is Sinister Serpent, which, as long as it's in the graveyard at the start of each turn, can return to your hand infinitely. Conveniently, Sinister Serpent is also a rarely used water monster, making it the perfect infinite ammo for Abyss Soldier. Abyss Control was once a top-tier deck and posted good results, but in that era, it was still generally classified as a non-chaos deck. Because chaos was just too strong back then. Still, as a former meta deck, Kira felt its strength was more than enough for now. And compared to the oppressive power of chaos decks with Dimension Slash, this strategy was more fun. Like right now, just look at that insect across from him, so happy he could almost howl. Insect Knight, you at *% at number. The slow-reacting Insect Knight finally seemed to realize just how terrifying his opponent's combo was. On the surface, Abyss Soldier seemed like just another monster that used card disadvantage for field control. But in truth, there were many ways to make it work. Especially with cards like Royal Decree, which, while equally annoying to both sides, could be used cleverly for one-sided oppression, double the psychological damage. Just like how the Insect Knight was feeling right now. At first, he'd scoffed at Abyss Soldier, thinking it was a low-level chump. But now, looking at those two, they did seem like death gods from the abyss, determined to drag him to the underworld. Not only can it clear the field and open up plays, it can even recycle itself to avoid being locked down by Royal Decree. What an interesting combo! As always, Jaden was excited. He thought Kira's duels always produced combos that thrilled him. Such creativity made dueling so much fun, and he wanted to try it himself more and more. Damn it, don't look down on me. My turn, draw. Having been bounced back to his hand over and over, the Insect Knight's field was as empty as a blank slate, and he was down to just 400 LP. On his opponent's next turn, his traps would be locked down by that face-up Royal Decree, and even if he summoned a defensive monster, it would just get bounced again by Abyss Soldier. If he didn't get rid of both Abyss Soldiers this turn, he was finished. I activate the spell card Allure of Darkness. Draw 2 cards from the deck, then banish a dark monster from my hand. He drew 2 cards, and a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. Here it is. With this card. Then, according to Allure of Darkness, I banish the dark monster De Mosquito from my hand. He revealed the monster card and a dark vortex appeared, sucking the card away. Normal summon Resonance Insect. Resonance Insect, ATK 1000. After being bounced around so much, Resonance Insect looked exhausted. This was already its 3rd appearance, and its effect still hadn't been triggered once. If it just hits the graveyard, that's a win. Spell card Insect Imitation. Announced the Insect Knight. I tribute 1 monster to special summon an insect from my deck whose level is 1 higher than the tribute. I tribute the level 4 Resonance Insect. Resonance Insect vanished, a summoning vortex appearing on the ground. As a result, I can special summon a level 5 insect from my deck. I choose Level 5, Millennium Scorpion. A giant, jet black scorpion whose shell shimmered with a cold, ghostly light. Its tail swayed, the huge stinger menacing. Millennium Scorpion, ATK 2000. And now Resonance Insect activates. When it's sent from the field to the graveyard, I can add a level 5 or higher insect from my deck to my hand. I add level 8 Doom Dozer to my hand. For a moment, the Insect Knight almost cried with joy. The cursed effect finally triggered. Things were looking up. Doom Dozer's effect. He shouted. By banishing 2 insects from my graveyard, I can special summon it. I banish the just sent resonance insect and a resonance insect discarded on turn 1. Behold, the god-given insect with ultimate power. Level 8, Doom Dozer, Summon. The ground split open, the massive, spiky carapace of the beast bursting forth with a deafening roar. Doom Dozer, ATK 2800. Next, Resonance Insect's other effect. When banished, I can send an insect other than Resonance Insect from my deck to the graveyard. I send Skullmark Ladybug to the graveyard. He sent the selected card to the graveyard, and soon a golden light glowed from the graveyard zone. The phantom of a ladybug with a skull pattern appeared. Skullmark Ladybug effect, when sent to the graveyard, I gain 1000 LP. Insect Knight, LP 400 LP 1400. With his LP restored, the Insect Knight regained his fighting spirit and shouted, "Battle!" Doom Dozer attacks Abyss Soldier. Get rid of that damn soldier. I activate my set card trap card Dimensional Prison, Kira calmly declared. When your monster declares an attack, banish it. The void shattered reality itself split. Doom Dozer charged so hard it couldn't stop, and ended up banished to another dimension. Insect Knight, Utter despair.jpg. Not bounced straight up sent to another dimension. Can we even play this game anymore? Then Millennium Scorpion attacks. Take out that bastard. This time, there was no interference. The Scorpion's attack went through, slicing the Abyss Soldier in half with its giant pincers. Kira, LP 4000 LP 3800. Didn't even tickle. The attack wasn't a complete success, and Kira still had one Abyss Soldier on the field. Annoying, but when Millennium Scorpion destroys a monster by battle, it gains 500 ATK. I set 2 cards and end my turn. Millennium Scorpion, ATK 2000 ATK 2500. The Insect Knight took a deep breath. On the surface, the next turn that damned soldier would just bounce Millennium Scorpion and attack for the game. The situation was overwhelmingly bad for him. But he glanced at his 2 set cards, seeing a glimmer of hope. He still had a chance. Chapter 103, finally, release. My turn, draw. Golden light shimmered from Kira's graveyard, and 2 cards slid out. Both sinister serpents in my graveyard activate. During my standby phase, if they're there, they return to my hand. The 2 cards return to his hand. The Insect Knight's face twitched. More ammo. He'd figured out how the combo worked. Sinister Serpent was infinite ammo for Abyss Soldier. Sure enough, Kira immediately discarded one of the returned serpents. Abyss Soldier effect, by discarding a water monster from my hand, I can bounce any card on the field. So, I discard a water Sinister Serpent. I knew it. The Insect Knight yelled. I activate my set card, trap card Memory Loss. When your face-up attack position monster activates its effect, negate that activation and switch it to defense position. Jaden, But doesn't Kira still have Royal Decree face-up? Kira raised an eyebrow. Does this insect have countermeasure to my Royal Decree? Interesting, I'll accept your challenge, Kira replied. I activate my set card, Continuous Trap Royal Decree. All trap cards on the field are negated. The returned Royal Decree once again exerted its invisible, oppressive force over the field. As expected. The Insect Knight shouted. Counter Trap Wiretap. When a trap is activated, negate its activation and shuffle it back into the deck. The Insect Knight did have a plan. Kira stroked his chin and nodded. The counter activated, sending Royal Decree back to Kira's deck, which reshuffled itself. As long as Royal Decree is negated before its effect applies, there's nothing to fear. And since the later effect resolves first, when Memory Loss resolves, Royal Decree is no longer on the field, so my trap card Memory Loss is effective. According to Memory Loss, your Abyss Soldier's effect is negated and it switches to defense position. The Insect Knight burst out laughing. Go away, Abyss Soldier. The underworldly power was temporarily sealed, and Abyss Soldier, forced by the trap, knelt and assumed a defensive posture. Abyss Soldier, ATK 1800 Def 1300. Now your combo is broken, the Insect Knight gloated. He had figured it out. Abyss Soldier was the core of Kira's whole strategy. As long as its effect was neutralized, he had nothing to fear. Next turn, his insect army would rally and sound the horn of comeback. What, you've got another out for me up your sleeve? I activate my set card, continuous trap call of the haunted, Kira said. Revive a monster from my graveyard in attack position. I choose another abyss soldier. Insect Knight. A vortex opened in the graveyard, water surging out. The aquatic soldier rose from the abyss, a cold wind blowing from the netherworld. Kira was impressed. Nice counter. But what will you do about the second one? The Insect Knight could already see the inevitable. His face twisted. No, please. But Kira didn't activate its effect immediately. Instead, he calmly showed another card. Equip spell Big Bang Shot. I'll equip it to your Millennium Scorpion. Here you go, buddy, have a smoke, don't be shy. Insect Knight. Why are you giving me an equip at a time like this? Big Bang Shot raises the equipped monster's ATK by 400, and gives it piercing damage. But of course, as you know, powerful effects come with risks. If Big Bang Shot leaves the field, the equipped monster is banished. The Insect Knight thought for a moment. If the equip leaves the field, the monster gets banished. He suddenly understood, his face twisting. Wait, you're going to? Correct. Sorry, no prize, Kira grinned. Second Abyss Soldier effect, discard another Water Sinister Serpent to bounce any card on the field. I'll bounce the equip spell Big Bang Shot. The equip spell turned into a flash of light and returned to Kira's hand. And since I own the card, it returns to me. But because Big Bang Shot left the field, the equipped monster is banished. Banish Millennium Scorpion. Another dimensional rift opened, sucking Millennium Scorpion away. The Insect Knight looked at his now empty field, utterly devastated. Why? Why do such scummy combos even exist? And who the hell comes up with this stuff? Jaden was stunned. You could use Abyss Soldier to bounce monsters back to the hand for removal, but that just gave the opponent back a resource. But by combining Abyss Soldier's effect with Big Bang Shot's downside, you could banish an opponent's monster from the field without returning it to their hand. Since Big Bang Shot returned to your hand, it could be reused, and Sinister Serpent was infinite ammo, so the whole process cost almost nothing. Kira felt he'd won at this point, but his opponent still had cards in hand. If, say, the Insect Knight had Kuruba and survived this turn, then bouncing Millennium Scorpion would just give him an extra card, so this was the best play. Yup, that's all. It's not that banishing the Millennium Scorpion was just more fun. But his opponent didn't quite see it that way. The Insect Knight gave up struggling and put on a mask of pain. Please, just finish me off. He wanted to leave this unfriendly world and reincarnate. Next life, he'd never touch cards again. Battle. Kira waved his hand. Abyss Soldier, direct attack. Seeing that eerie soldier rush forward, Insect Knight let out a long breath and closed his eyes. It might sound strange, but after so many turns of having his monsters bounced, banished, and locked down, as the final blow fell, he didn't feel fear. He felt relief. Finally, he didn't have to duel anymore. Insect Knight, LP 1400. PS, RIP Insect Knight. Chapter 104, Dueling Can Kill. Insect Knight, LP 0. Dueling in the spirit dimension isn't the same as shadow duels in the outside world. Here, all monsters and card effects are real and the damage is real, but if it's just a friendly match, you can hold back and stop before it gets too serious. It's not like a shadow game, where only one person walks away alive. But of course, Kira had no reason to show mercy to this insect. Abyss Soldier struck without restraint, splitting the insect's head open. The Insect Knight fell back, blood spraying, and after dying, his body quickly broke apart, turning into motes of light and fading away. He dropped a deck. Kira walked over and picked it up, glancing around and frowning. Damn, no dual disc drop. That's the problem with the spirit world. Many duelists' dual discs aren't made with technology or tools but are part of their bodies. So, when they die, the disc disappears too. A pity. Kira thought that if he could bring a spirit world dual disc back, even if he didn't use it, Kaiba would pay a fortune for it. Oh well, at least he got a deck. He didn't plan to play insects anytime soon, and compared to his current decks, this one wasn't that strong or versatile. But he could probably sell some cards for a good price. For example, he immediately thought of Watanabe Shuki from the Duel Club. He'd probably pay a fair amount for it. Jaden, who had been watching for a while, finally couldn't help but ask, wait, where did that guy go? Kira was startled, then realized. Oh, right. At this point, Jaden was still an innocent, naive student. In the normal timeline, he'd have been seriously debating the existence of shadow games with Titan at this hour. A good materialist, raised under Kaiba's education. He died, Kira said honestly. That's the rule here. In a lot of places, dueling isn't just a game, it's a way to fight. Duels can decide life and death. The materialist youth Jaden was shocked. His expression said, "Don't mess with me, I'm not that gullible, can you die from cards?" But Kira just brushed it off. Don't make such a fuss, people dying from duels is nothing. In the future, duels can even destroy the world or turn back time. Jaden's worldview was shaken to its core. Everything he'd been taught said this was impossible, but a voice inside him said it was true. Besides, they'd crossed over from the abandoned dorm to this strange land and met dual monster spirits, things that couldn't be denied. So, for the first time in his life, Jaden had to face the possibility. Dueling can kill. He suddenly thought of something, looking with a complicated expression at Kira's back. So, Kira was risking his life when he dueled just now? And he seemed to know this all along. So even knowing, he still accepted the duel without hesitation. Was it because, as his companion, Kira didn't want him to face such a cruel duel alone? Kira was already humming a tune ahead. Jaden silently followed, then suddenly asked. "By the way, Kira, did you take that spirit's deck?" "Yeah," Kira replied. "Why?" "Oh, nothing. It's just, it feels weird to take someone else's deck." Jaden scratched his head. "Someone else's deck? Whose?" Kira asked. Jaden blinked. "Hey? Wasn't it that insect spirit's deck?" "Kira, and where's the insect spirit?" "Jaden, didn't you say he died?" "Exactly. He's gone, so how could it still be his?" Kira said matter-of-factly. "It's ownerless, I just picked it up." Jaden thought for a moment. "Hey? That kind of makes sense. Besides, if I didn't take it, someone else would. If an evil spirit picked it up and used it to harm others, wouldn't that be bad?" Jaden pondered. "Yeah, that makes sense." "What do you mean?" "Of course, it does." Kira waved his hand. "Besides, if nobody picks it up, and it gets left out here exposed to the elements or chewed up by wild animals, wouldn't that be a waste? We're upright duelists, we just want to give these poor, ownerless cards a home. Isn't that what we should do?" Yeah. Jaden was getting talked into it. "See?" Kira patted Jaden's shoulder and said earnestly. "Jade, dueling isn't always about fun, sometimes there are heavy duels. You'll face that one day too. Cards in the hands of evil people become weapons of harm, and as duelists of justice, we can't let our beloved monsters be abused." These words struck a chord in Jaden, stirring his love for dueling and heroic sense of justice. "Right. So, if you ever have to face this situation, remember not to hesitate. Duel discs and decks are just weapons for evildoers, we can't let them keep harming people," Kira declared righteously. Then he paused and softened his tone. "Of course, from a duelist's perspective, taking someone's soul, their deck, can feel wrong. But sometimes, heroes have to make sacrifices for justice. But if you find it too heavy, leave it to me." Kira grinned. Of course, he was only joking. But if Jaden ever did share the loser's deck after a shadow game, he'd reluctantly accept it. The world of shadow games is treacherous, he'd rather handle it than let Jaden get in over his head. "By the way, Kira, I haven't seen this deck of yours before," Jaden said. "Oh, I just saw Abyss Soldier in the Duel Club the other day, so I built a new deck around it." "Wow, that's great." Jaden looked envious. "You and Misawa both. I'm jealous of people like you who can come up with so many amazing combos and deck builds so easily." Kira thought, "No, I'm the one who's jealous of you." Chapter 105, The Secrets of Dueling. Spirit Dimension, somewhere. The night was as dark as ink, and dim moonlight shrouded the dense forest. A man in black, hood drawn, passed silently through the shadows, his figure blending seamlessly with the undergrowth. He arrived at a cave entrance thickly covered with vines, with only a faint, eerie light shining through. The man in black bent slightly and entered the cave. A cold wind blew from deep within, accompanied by a wailing sound. At first, the cave was silent and dark, but as he went deeper, he began to hear faint commotion sounds of fighting and shouting. It was a swarm of insectoids. In a spacious chamber, insectoids of various forms were locked in a fierce battle. Some were as large as armored beetles, others darted nimbly between the crowd. Roars and collisions echoed, making the cave walls tremble. They tore at each other with fangs and claws, every attack sending bodily fluids and carapace fragments flying. This was the insect hive. The boss had gone out and hadn't returned, the insect knight was dead, and now the entire hive was leaderless. The remaining insects were fiercely fighting to determine who would lead next. Suddenly, some of the insects noticed the man in black at the entrance. Human scent. A human? Here. The swarm immediately dropped their quarrels and rushed at the man in black in a frenzy, baring their fangs and claws, ready to tear him to pieces. But the man in black simply looked up calmly, his eyes beneath the hood glowing with a cold green light. A hexagram mark appeared on his forehead, spinning slowly like a magical wheel. Boom! A few minutes later, the battle in the cave was over. Insects lay everywhere, scattered and defeated. Carapace fragments, fluids, and blood mixed together, forming a bizarre, bloody pattern. The man stood in the center of the cave, coldly surveying the fallen insects, the hexagram on his forehead glowing, his black robe fluttering without wind. Behind him, a massive shadow was slowly fading, with traces of ghostly blue flames lingering nearby. Stop! Stop! We're on the same side. A mantis-like insectoid coughed up blood as it hurriedly begged for mercy. We didn't know a divine messenger had arrived. The man in black coldly asked, has an outsider duelist entered this dimension? An insectoid immediately nodded. Yes. I heard the Skull King's wife ran off with the enemy, and then he defected as well. That's just a rumor, another insectoid interjected, that sounds too far-fetched. It's true. My intel network is reliable. The man in black gestured for them to be silent, then continued coldly, where did your leader go? The insects looked embarrassed. The boss heard the Skull King was beaten, so he went to confront those guys. And then? And he hasn't returned since. The man fell silent, as if deep in thought. The mantis insectoid asked cautiously, Lord Messenger, since the boss is gone, don't you think we need a new acting leader? How about I? The man glared coldly, and the mantis hastily drew its head back, not daring to speak further. One last question. His eyes flashed green as he asked in a deep voice. In this dimension, is there a phoenix god ruin? Spirit dimension, camp. Come on, anyone who wants to practice dueling, line up. Jaden greeted everyone with a huge smile. One at a time, no pushing. Everyone gets a turn. Hearing that Kira had been teaching spirits how to duel, Jaden couldn't stand being left out and insisted on joining in. So, he started running a boot camp for the spirits interested in learning to duel like interdimensional heroes. The warriors soon realized this hero was nothing like the last one. If dueling the previous guy left you feeling powerless, unable to play your cards, this one handled everything with effortless ease no matter what card or move you played, he'd counter it in some unexpected way. For example, when a magical broker monster spirit dueled Jaden. Jaden, I activate the spell card polymerization. I fuse elemental hero Bublemon, Avian, and Sparkman. Appear, my strongest hero elemental hero Tempest. Elemental hero Tempest, ATK 2800. Magical broker, Nanny. A powerful monster with 2800 ATK. But as long as my magical broker is on the field, I can't be destroyed by any means as long as there's a continuous spell or trap on the field. Magical broker, Def 200. I have the continuous spell the Dark Door active, so only one monster can attack per battle phase. Even Tempest can't break my defense. Don't worry. Jaden grinned confidently, I activate the quick play spell diffusion on Tempest, splitting him into Avian, Bublemon, and Sparkman. Then I activate the spell card Feather Shot. By giving up the attack of my other monsters, Avian can attack several times equal to the number of monsters I control. I have 3, so Avian can attack 3 times this turn. Then, I play the spell H-Heated Heart. Avian gets 500 more ATK and inflicts piercing damage. Elemental Hero Avian, ATK 1500. Magical Broker, Def 200. Nanny. The Magical Broker gasped. 3 attacks and piercing. That's right. Go, Avian Feather Shot triple attack. Magical Broker, Towaha. Magical Broker, LP0. Victory. Jaden cheered, what a fun duel. Magical Broker. Kira watched in silence. How to put it? Feather Shot, the card that gives Avian multiple attacks, is one of those elemental hero cards that seems completely pointless. Avian only has 1000 ATK, what's the use of multiple attacks? And it requires giving up your other monsters' attacks for Avian's sake. Normally, it's a pretty useless card. But Jaden's attitude was, I drew it, I won, what's your problem? The bootcamp continued. I activate the trap card Edge Hammer. I tribute my elemental hero Blad Edge to destroy an opponent's monster and inflict damage equal to its original ATK. I activate the counter trap Feather Wind. If I have elemental hero Avian face up, I can negate a spell or trap activation and destroy it. Kira. You couldn't deny it. Jaden's deck might look like a pile of bricks, but when he played, he had negates, destruction, and counters. Whether the spirits learned any true dueling secrets was another matter. Jaden, hey? Dueling? Isn't it all about drawing the cards you want? Chapter 106, Phoenix God Ruins. Victory. That was a joyful duel. Jaden was thoroughly satisfied. But I guess it's about time we head back. He reluctantly packed up his duel disc. It'll be dawn soon. If we're found in the abandoned dorm's forbidden area, we'll be in trouble. It was the first time he'd had so much fun dueling with spirits, and he didn't want it to end. That might not matter anymore, Kira reminded him. When we were teleported to the spirit world, only the two of us came. What do you think the others would do? Jaden was stunned, then realized. Right, Cirrus and Chumley would ask the school for help. So, it's likely they were found out not long after being teleported. Oh. Jaden thought for a moment. Trespassing in forbidden zones could get you expelled. That was serious. But even if he wanted to fix things now, it was probably too late. So, he just shrugged and opened his duel disc again. Whatever, let's just duel some more before we go. Yeah, at this point, let's just enjoy the game. The battered spirits. More dueling? Is this hero made of cards? Why doesn't he ever get tired? Ahem, let's save the dueling for next time. We have one more place to visit before we go back. Kira interrupted. Jaden, Of course, Kira wanted to visit the Phoenix God ruins. He still didn't know why they'd been brought into this dimension from the abandoned dorm, or if they'd ever get another chance to return after leaving. Since he was here, he couldn't miss such a big sight. At least he had to take a look. The spirit tribe sat lifelessly among the dense woods. Kira and Jaden walked through the thick forest, approaching the village. Broken walls and overgrown courtyards gave a sense of desolation, sunlight filtering through the leaves, casting long shadows on the ruined buildings. This looks amazing. Jaden stared in awe at the huge, ancient phoenix god statue at the village center. After countless years of wind and rain, the statue was dull, surrounded by weeds and wild flowers swaying in the breeze. It feels like it's trying to say something. Jaden slowly stepped forward, reaching toward the statue. Kira simply watched in silence. He didn't sense or hear anything special. To him, it was just an abandoned village and a decaying statue. Bringing Jaden along seemed like a good idea. Jaden's spirit affinity was off the charts. If even a trace of spirit consciousness lingered, he'd probably sense it. Kira didn't interrupt, just silently cheered him on in his heart. Come on, use your overwhelming Supreme King power, maybe print out a sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. And if you could snag a whole deck and a Phoenix God spirit, even better. Boom. Just as Jaden approached the statue, the stairs in front exploded. Blinding light and a storm sent Jaden flying backward in surprise. Kuri. Winged Kuruba called out in concern. I'm fine, partner. What happened? Jaden stood up, dazed. Suddenly, a man in black descended from the sky like a superhero, landing atop the statue's altar. He drew a card from his cloak. Silent magician and black-luster soldier appeared instantly at Kira's side to protect him. The man in black raised the card high. Kira couldn't see what it was from here, but the image was familiar. Based on his memory, he guessed what it was. It was the sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. Stop him! Kira ordered. Both spirits rushed forward. But a pillar of green light shot into the sky, forcing the spirits back with its overwhelming energy. It was as if the sky had split, and a hexagram appeared beneath the man's feet, power pouring toward the card in his hand. It was the power of Orichalcos. Then, the ancient phoenix god statue glowed gold, as if coated in golden armor. Burning gold light poured out, sucked irresistibly into the card in the man's hand like a black hole. In an instant, the golden light was gone, absorbed into the card. The statue looked even duller. The green light faded. The man in black lowered his arm, looking at the card and frowning slightly. Just a trace of lingering power. He muttered. You. Jaden jumped up. What did you do? The man glanced over at their red and yellow uniforms. So, the rumored duelists from the real world are Duel Academy students, he said. I didn't do much, just searched for the spirit of Nephthys. Unfortunately, it seems it's not here. Even this tribe only holds a faint afterglow of the Phoenix God's power. Kira guessed the truth. The man held a sacred Phoenix of Nephthys card from the outside world, but it didn't have a spirit inside. He was looking for the Phoenix God's spirit, hoping to use the card as a vessel and with Orichalco's power, capture and seal the Phoenix. And even without activating the seal of Orichalco's in a duel, the energy just now was stronger than anything Bandit Keith had managed. A tough opponent. Duel monsters are the companions of duelists. Jaden protested. Duelists and cards should trust and support each other, not enslave with power. Oh. The man sized him up. So naive. There are many kids like you. Jaden frowned. What do you mean? Duelists may trust their monsters, but that trust isn't always returned. In the end, all that matters is victory. A commander only needs absolute authority. There's no need to treat your servants as equals. I could never agree with you, Jaden said. If that's how you feel, then let's settle it with a duel. Fine, that was my intention anyway. The man had already drawn his duel disc. Since you've intruded on a god's domain, I can't let you leave. Let me, Shell of the new Doma 3 Swordsman, send you off. The unique Doma duel disc snapped open, lights flashing. Both of you, come at once. Comment. 18 comment. Vote. Chapter 107, Chapter 107, The New Doma 3 Swordsman. Kira frowned slightly at the name. The new Doma have a 3 swordsman too? He remembered the original Doma 3 swordsmen Raphael, Alistair, and Valen. None were easy to deal with. Raphael had even handed Yugi one of his rare defeats, a legendary feat from the DM era. But those 3 had already turned over a new leaf, unlikely they'd be pulled back in. So, this new Doma's 3 swordsmen must be formidable, too. The opponent even suggested a 2-on-1, so Kira and Jaden had no reason to refuse. After all, in Yu-Gi-Oh!, 2-on-1 meant double the resources, a significant advantage. And since the man said he wouldn't let them leave, this was a duel to the finish. Shell, each of you gets 4,000 LP, sharing field and graveyard. I use a combined total of 8,000 LP. The rules are standard tag duel rules. Standard tag duel rules meant each side had a team, alternating turns. When it was one team's turn, the active duelist would switch. For example, if Shell went first, then Kira, then Shell again, then Jaden, and so on. The last time Kaiba faced 3 at once, it wasn't standard tag, he used Battle Royale rules, where all 4 duelists were their faction. In that format, Kaiba only got 1 turn for every 3 from the others, a huge disadvantage. Only Kaiba's massive confidence could pull that off. But even Darts once fought Yugi and Kaiba 2-on-1 using that format and nearly won, truly a cheat level boss. Anyway, 2-on-1 was still an advantage here. Duel. X3. Jaden, LP 4000. Kira, LP 4000. Shell, LP 8000. I'll go first. Draw. The random draw gave the first turn to Jaden's side. I summon Elemental Hero Bublemon in attack position. Elemental Hero Bublemon, ATK 800. Jaden, when Bublemon is summoned and I have no other cards, I draw 2 cards. Anime effect. Bublemon, Jaden's best comeback engine. Thanks to this anime effect, he's nicknamed Pot of Greedman. Just play him and draw 2, incredibly strong. Kira hadn't built a hero deck yet, but he had picked up Bublemon. Even outside hero, he was a solid tech card. Then I activate the spell card Polymerization from my hand. Jaden declared. I fuse the Bublemon on the field with Clayman from my hand. With a firm body as my shield, fusion summon. Elemental Hero Mudballman. Bublemon and Clayman vanished in a fusion whirlpool, a water jet bursting, a solid body slamming onto the field, arms crossed like a fortress. Elemental Hero Mudballman, Def 3000. A vanilla monster, but with a defense rivaling Blue Eyes, it was a solid opening wall, Jaden, then I set a card face down and end my turn. A hero deck, huh? But being a hero isn't that easy. Shell said coldly. My turn. Draw. He added the card to his hand, then played another. First, I activate this card to turn this duel into a great offering to the true god. Field spell the Seal of Orichalcos. A green barrier spread from his feet, a pillar of light shooting up. Green light flashed in his eyes, the hexagram appearing on his forehead, his whole body bursting with green flames. Jaden was stunned by the scene. What is this? A dark duel field, Kira explained. In this duel, the loser's soul is taken. Since Kira already explained about Shadow Duel, Jaden adapted quickly, though his expression was more serious than usual. For a student, you know a lot. Shell's aura grew even stronger after activating the seal, as if he had borrowed even more power from an evil god in another dimension. He was stronger than Bandit Keith. But Jaden was also a reincarnated powerhouse, his luck among the best. He wasn't necessarily at a disadvantage even with the seal in play. That's right. The loser's soul will feed the god, Shell said calmly. I summon Defender of Nephthys in attack position. A girl in golden armor appeared, wielding a heavy sword, her eyes vacant. The Orichalcos mark appeared on her forehead as well. Defender of Nephthys, ATK 1400. Kira raised an eyebrow. So, it was a Nephthys deck. Was it his inner prayer to the Phoenix god just now that brought this guy to bring him the deck? Defender of Nephthys effect activates, Shell said. I destroy a card in my hand, then special summon a level 4 or lower Nephthys monster from my hand. So, I destroy a card in my hand and special summon Hand of Nephthys from my hand. A card burned away in a fiery effect, and a new girl with dark skin and a golden helmet appeared. She, too, had the hexagram on her forehead and empty eyes, like a puppet. Hand of Nephthys, ATK 600. Shell raised his arm. Hand of Nephthys' effect activates. I tribute her and another monster to special summon Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys from my hand or deck. I tribute Hand of Nephthys and Defender of Nephthys. Ancient slumbering power, awaken amid burning flames, and bring me victory. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, summon. The dark sky turned fiery red as if set ablaze. In a burst of flame, a dazzling light pierced through, swooping down. Bathed in fire, the Phoenix god's golden form radiated in the scorching light, its eyes blazing like burning stars, wings carving a dazzling arc in the sky. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, ATK 2400. Chapter 108, Power of the Phoenix. Nephthys Phoenix God, summon. Even Kira could sense that while the summoned Phoenix God possessed a certain fluctuation of power, most of it came from the energy Shell had just absorbed from the statue. The card still lacked a spirit's blessing. However, in this world, as long as a dual monster card isn't a bootleg or a knockoff, even without a spirit inhabiting it, it still possesses a certain supernatural quality. The monsters and spirits summoned by duelists from each card are somewhat like projections in originals, or you could say they're avatars of the spirits. Sometimes, if a duelist pours enough emotion into a card, it may naturally attract a genuine spirit to inhabit it. So, it's possible for an ordinary card to suddenly become a spirit card. As long as the Seal of Orichalcos remains on the field, all my monsters gain 500 attack points, Shell said. Therefore, Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys' attack increases. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, ATK 2400 ATK 2900. Jaden frowned at the Phoenix god, whose forehead now glowed with a green mark, and couldn't help but say, "Can't you feel it? Your monster is crying out in pain." "So, what if I hear it?" "So, what if I don't?" Shell replied coldly. "The only thing a duelist needs to consider is victory. Trust only leads to betrayal. In the end, the only one a duelist can count on is themselves." "That's not true." Jaden wanted to argue, but Shell cut him off. "Why don't you beat me first before lecturing me?" "I activate the spell card Last Hope of Nephthys. I destroy one Nephthys card on my field and one card on your field. I destroy Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys and your elemental hero Clayman." The Phoenix god erupted in flames, transforming into a fiery bird that swooped towards Clayman. Together, in a blaze of fire, both were reduced to ashes. The shockwave swept over. Jaden raised his arm to shield his face. "Ugh, sacrificing his monster just to take mine down with him." Shell said, "I set one card face down and end my turn." "Kira, then it's my turn. Draw. In my hand, I use the effect of Thunder Dragon. By discarding this card, I add up to 2 Thunder Dragons from my deck to my hand. He added 2 cards to his hand, and then immediately played another card. Spell card, Card Destruction. Both players discard all cards in their hands and then draw the same number from their decks. With this exchange, a large amount of light and dark monsters were now in the graveyard. Next, I banish Apprentice Magician, Dark, and Thunder Dragon, Light, from my graveyard. A sorcerer who commands the power of light and darkness, descend now. Chaos Sorcerer, summon. Beams of light and darkness shot into the air, intertwining and vanishing into a vortex. Chaotic energy exploded, gradually taking human form as the Chaos Sorcerer spun and landed. Chaos Sorcerer, ATK 2300. Chaos Power, Hey. The students of Duel Academy do have some terrifying cards, Shell said coldly. In that case, I activate my set card, Trap Card Torrential Tribute. When a monster is summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. The trap card flipped up, and a blue torrent swept the field. Chaos Sorcerer, just summoned, shattered into light under the surging current. Jaden, Kira's Chaos Sorcerer went down in an instant. Kira, no problem. I use the effect of the Tricky in my hand. By discarding a card, I can special summon this card. He sent a card to the graveyard. A summoning circle opened, and a mage with a question mark on his head appeared. The Tricky, ATK 2000. The card I just discarded was the quick play spell Silent Burning. Kira now picked up the spell card from his graveyard. By banishing Silent Burning, I can add 1 Silent Magician from my deck to my hand. Silent Magician can be special summoned by tributing 1 spellcaster monster on the field. I tribute the Tricky on my field. Silent Wings of Hope, Magician of Light, appear. Silent Magician, summon. The Tricky's form dissolved in the summoning circle. A white-robed mage spun onto the light magic circle, staff whirling gracefully. Silent Magician, ATK 1000. Silent Magician's ATK increases by 500 for each card in my hand. I have 3 cards, so ATK increases by 1500. Silent Magician, ATK 1000 ATK 2500. Silent Magician, direct attack. Silent Burning. A swirling vortex of light gathered at the staff's tip and exploded into Shell's face. The swordsman of Doma staggered back a step but managed to stand firm under the forceful impact of the magic. Shell, LP 8000 LP 5500. Jaden punched the air, yes. That's a big hit. You're pretty good. Shell cracked his neck. Kira set 3 cards and said, set 3 cards face down and end my turn. Seems you two aren't just ordinary students. In that case, I'll get a bit more serious. Shell narrowed his eyes. My turn, draw. At the start of my standby phase, I activate the effect of Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, which was destroyed last turn. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard by an effect, special summon it during your next standby phase. Shell raised his arm. The phoenix shall be reborn from the ashes, and with its blazing flames, burn everything to cinders. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, revive. A spinning pillar of fire sword, golden wings spread wide. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, reborn. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, ATK 2400 ATK 2900. And upon resurrection, Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys' effect activates, Shell shouted. When special summoned by its effect, destroy all spell and trap cards on the field. The phoenix shrieked, spreading its wings to unleash a fiery storm, sweeping across the field in a burning tornado. What a powerful ability, Jaden said. But that means your field will be destroyed, too. The seal of Orichalcos can't be negated or removed from the field by any means once activated, Shell replied icily. This duel ends only when one of our souls is fully sacrificed. So only your set cards will be destroyed. He swept his arm over Kira and Jaden's 4 set cards. So, all your set cards are gone. The phoenix's flames swept across Kira and Jaden's fields, blowing up 4 set cards. Shell immediately noticed 2 of them were mirror force. Kira and Jaden glanced at each other. One was set by Kira and one by Jaden. Haha, sometimes we do choose the same cards, Jaden scratched his head. In the original, Jaden also used mirror force. Not only that, in the early duel against Titan, he drew 2 mirror forces in his opening hand, unique in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. Too bad our traps didn't get a chance to activate, Jaden said regretfully. Not necessarily. Kira smiled. As the flames swept by, 3 of the set cards spun in the air and landed face down again. What? Shell frowned. Why weren't they destroyed by the sacred phoenix of Nephthys' effect? One of my set cards was the trap card Fake Trap, Kira explained, pointing at a floating trap card. When an effect would destroy your traps, Fake Trap can be destroyed instead, and all other traps remain. In a real duel, the opponent could check the cards that were set again, but in this world's duels, you can't just walk over and flip them. Shell could only rely on a glimpse from the anime-style animation to see that there were 2 mirror forces left. Impressive, the Duel Academy's trap master planned for a field wipe, Jaden laughed. 2 mirror forces, quite the ironclad defense. Shell said, but I have more effects to resolve. Last turn, my Defender of Nephthys destroyed a card Chronicler of Nephthys. When Chronicler of Nephthys is destroyed by an effect, during your next standby phase, you can add 1 Nephthys card from your graveyard to your hand. A card popped from the graveyard, and Shell drew it. I return the spell card Last Hope of Nephthys to my hand. Jaden, that troublesome spell again. Spell card Last Hope of Nephthys activate. Shell played the spell card again, its image flaring with fire. I destroy 1 Nephthys card on my field and 1 of your cards. Chapter 109, Armageddon. Spell card Last Hope of Nephthys. I choose my Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys and your Silent Magician to destroy. This again. Jaden frowned. My claimant fell to that too. Silent Magician's effect activates, Kira said. Once per turn, when a spell card is activated, negate it. Silent Magician's staff spun, and milky white magic waves burst out, as if invisible chains bound the opposing magic, shattering the spell card. Ha, nice one, Kira. Jaden flashed a V sign. You've got a counter for both front and back row attacks. Shell squinted at Silent Magician and Kira. Such a troublesome ability. Is that your spirit? That's right. Spirits are our comrades in battle, Jaden declared. Someone like you, who enslaves your monsters, will never understand. And why do you think I wouldn't understand? Shell retorted coldly. What makes you so sure I never believed? Jaden was startled. What? Not just me. My family, generation after generation, we believed. We called ourselves the emissaries of the Phoenix, passing down the Phoenix card, believing the Phoenix god would protect us. Kira wondered how Pegasus had only recently discovered dual monsters, so how could there be ancestral decks? Then he remembered, in 5DS, the Nordic gods were also said to be passed down through families. Maybe they were stone tablets before Pegasus invented card making. But the reality was different, Shell continued. One day, disaster struck. Our village was invaded. I watched my people slaughtered, my friends die before my eyes. But in the end, the Phoenix god never appeared. So-called comrades, so-called guardians, they're just self-deception. The only power you hold yourself is absolute. Jaden fell silent for a moment. So that's what happened to you. It's all in the past. It doesn't matter anymore, Shell said. The Phoenix god abandoned us. To gain the power to protect others, I found a new path. Orichalcos? Kira asked. That's right. They gave me a chance, a contract with the devil, and new power. Shell raised his voice. If I can gain power, what does it matter if I sell my soul to the devil? I activate the spell card of Sanctity from my hand. Both players draw until they have 6 cards in their hand. Anime effect. Kira. Wow, sneaking in such a powerful card while monologuing? Is that the power you sold your soul for? Tell me where to buy it and I'll go too. Kira looked at Jaden seriously. Jaden. No matter what, we have to win this duel. Hey? Oh, of course. Jaden nodded, feeling Kira's fighting spirit surge for some reason. Maybe he also disapproved of the enemy's methods? Kira really is a righteous duelist. After refilling his hand, Shell slowly drew another card, as if performing a solemn ritual. This is the absolute power I gained from the devil. Shell declared. I activate the spell card Advanced Ritual Art from my hand. By sending normal monsters from my deck to the graveyard as ritual tribute, I can ritual summon a monster whose total levels equal the tribute. He drew out 2 cards from his deck. I used 2 level 4 Flying Kamakiri 2 monsters from my deck as a tribute for a ritual summon. Let the world be consumed in the flames of the apocalypse, reduce all things to dust. Demise, King of Armageddon, descend. The ritual circle burned with blue flames of destruction. The instant the dark current burst forth, it was as if doomsday had arrived. Emerging was a pitch-black giant clad in destructive armor, wielding a massive axe, exuding overwhelming pressure. Legend says this King of Destruction appears only at the end of the world. Demise, King of Armageddon. Demise, King of Armageddon, ATK 2400 ATK 2900. Erg. As the ritual was completed, Shell let out an involuntary roar. Veins bulged on his forehead as blue flames shrouded his body, mingling with the orichalco's green glow. Jaden stared at the giant and pressed a hand to his chest. What's going on? Why does that monster feel so overwhelming? That's not an ordinary monster, Kira said. That card holds a powerful dark force. Exactly. Demise is the demon king of destruction. With this power, I defeated my enemies. Shell's eyes burned with blue fire. And now, you too will be destroyed by the flames of doomsday. Demise, King of Armageddon, activates its effect. Pay 2000 LP. Destroy all other cards on the field. He raised his right hand and clenched his fist. Destroy everything. Jaden, such a powerful ability. That's right. As long as I keep offering my life to Demise, he's invincible. Shell swung his arm. Armageddon. Shell, LP 5500 LP 3500. Demise swung his axe. Icy blue flames, like ghostly fire from the underworld, devoured everything in their path, dragging the whole world to the abyss. Even the Phoenix god couldn't resist, crying out before being burned away. The flames swept Kira and Jaden's field, wiping out Silent Magician and all their set cards. Now, Silent Magician's effect activates, Kira said. When destroyed by an opponent's effect, she can evolve. From the intersection of chaos and order, let the silent light shine. Magician of Light, descend. Silent Magician LV8. White magic circles appeared where she fell, and a dazzling white light exploded, bringing forth a higher level, silver-haired mage. Silent Magician LV8, ATK 3500. Jaden's eyes lit up. Nice, Kira. Always got a backup plan. Shell's breathing grew ragged as if the dual powers within him were taking a toll on his mind. Demise glanced at him, cold eyes flashing with a dim blue light. A cold, hoarse voice whispered in Shell's ear. Looks like you need more power. Come on, give me more of your life, and you'll gain even greater power. Yeah, take all you want, just shut up. Shell shouted, swaying as he stood. Useless. Demise, King of Armageddon effect activates again. Pay 2000 LP, and destroy all cards. Armageddon. Jaden, wait, there's no limit to how many times you can use that. Shell, LP 3500 LP 1500. Once more, Demise swung his axe, and the world was engulfed in blue flames. Silent Magician tried to resist, but her magic circle shattered, and she faded away. Now your field is empty. Shell caught his breath, steadying himself. Now, from my hand. He revealed another card. Doomdozer. By banishing 2 insect monsters from my graveyard, I can special summon him. I banish the 2 flying Kamakiri 2 monsters I just sent to the graveyard, and special summon Doomdozer. The 2 monsters he sent to the graveyard with advanced ritual art weren't random, they were chosen to meet Doomdozer's summon conditions. He used Demise to clear the field, set up the graveyard, and then summoned Doomdozer for a 1-turn kill combo. Doomdozer, ATK 2800 ATK 3300. This is the end. This turn, I'll take care of one of you first. Shell paused, his gaze shifting between the 2, finally settling on Jaden. Maybe he sensed something special about Jaden, or maybe their earlier debate left a bad taste. Either way, the boss's aggro was now on Jaden. Let's start with you. If your so-called bond with monsters can create miracles, show me. He swung his arm. It's over. Doomdozer. Demise, King of Armageddon. Direct attack. Chapter 110, Hero vs. Armageddon. First, Doomdozer's direct attack. Shell was bathed in blue flames, the orichalco's mark shining on his forehead. For an instant, he seemed swallowed by black fire. Die. The massive dozer charged at shocking speed, its huge, foul-smelling maw ready to devour Jaden. But before Jaden could react, Kira played a card. I activate from my hand trap card, Magic Cylinder. Jaden. Shell. The trap card's image appeared, twin barrels formed in front of Jaden. Shell was stunned, a trap card from your hand. When Demise destroyed one of my set cards last turn, it was cross-counter trap. When this card is sent to the graveyard by the opponent's effect, you can activate a trap from your hand once that turn. Anime effect. Shell's face twisted, another trap. In one turn, his Phoenix God wiped the back row, and Demise cleared the field twice. He thought he'd cleared all the traps, but there was a third layer. Shell finally turned his glare on Kira. A trap hidden under traps and yet another layer. Are you a grave robber or what? Awesome, Kira. Jaden gave a thumbs up. A chain of traps. If he takes this, it's over. Shell, LP 1500. Doomdozer, ATK 3300. Not so easy. Shell shouted. I activate the quick play spell Mystic Walk from my hand. I tribute one monster on my field and gain LP equal to its ATK or def. I tribute Doomdozer and recover LP. A huge black walk appeared. Doomdozer dove in, instantly cooked and absorbed into Shell. Better to cook your monster than let your enemy use it against you. Shell, LP 1500 LP 4800. Jaden, ah, so close. Shell survived, but his OTK setup was broken. He eyed Kira warily. TCH, what a devious brat. But I still have Demise who hasn't attacked. He redirected his attack at Kira. Since you protected your friend, you'll take his place. Demise, King of Armageddon direct attack. Demise stepped forward, each stride shaking the earth. His axe swung in a blazing arc toward Kira. I won't let you hurt my friend. Jaden raised his hand. Thanks to Kira's card destruction earlier. From the graveyard, the effect of Necrogardna during your opponent's turn activates. By banishing this card, you can negate one attack. A ghostly shield appeared before Kira. Demise's axe slammed into it, blue flames washing harmlessly over the barrier. Shell scowled, TCH, so even card destruction held a hidden combo. His OTK, paid with most of his LP, failed to deal a single point of damage and nearly backfired. Are these kids just students? Shell frowned, starting to wonder if dueling two at once was too much. Are Duel Academy students this strong nowadays? Kira smiled and nodded at Jaden. Thanks. Friends help each other. And besides, you protected me first. Jaden grinned, rubbing his nose. But watching their camaraderie only annoyed Shell more. Still have time for friendship? Fine, let's see how long you last. Shell growled. I activate the spell card of Burial Magic. By banishing 3 spell cards from my graveyard, I draw 2 cards. Anime effect. 3 spell cards appeared in his graveyard. I banish Last Hope of Nephthys, Advanced Ritual Art, and Mystic Walk to draw 2 cards. The spell cards shimmered and vanished. Shell drew 2 more cards. I haven't normal summoned this turn. I set a monster and 2 cards face down. End turn. Alright. My turn. I can't let Kira's hard work go to waste. Jaden slapped his cheeks to focus. My turn, draw. He said. First, I activate Fusion Recycling Plant. I add 1 polymerization and 1 fusion material monster from my graveyard to my hand. I return polymerization and elemental hero Bublemon from my graveyard. He added 2 cards, then summoned 1. Next, summon elemental hero Bublemon. Elemental hero Bublemon, ATK 800. Bubbleman's effect, if he's the only card on my field when summoned, I draw 2 cards. Anime effect. 2 more cards were drawn. Jaden played another card. Equip spell Bubble Blaster. Equipped to Bublemon, ATK increases by 800. Bublemon, ATK 800 ATK 1600. Shell, even with 800 more, he's still weak. Don't be so sure. Watch as a hero's potential is limitless. Jaden played another card. Spell card Polymerization. I fuse Elemental Hero Sparkman and Elemental Hero Bladedge from my hand. Hero Fusion unleashes infinite possibilities. Tear through the darkness with thunder. Elemental Hero Plasma Vice, summon. Sparkman and Bladedge appeared, merging into a swirling vortex of fusion. Electricity crackled, golden light flashed, and the steel-armed hero descended. Elemental Hero Plasma Vice, ATK 2800. In real-life cards, Plasma Vice's ATK is 2600, but Jaden's original card is 2800. Plasma Vice's effect activates. Jaden declared. By discarding a card, I can destroy an opponent's attack position monster. He discarded a card. I discard a card to destroy Demise, King of Armageddon. Plasma Vice's arms surged with golden electricity, launching a lightning spear at Demise. Muta. Shell's eyes glowed blue. I activate my set card, trap card Dark Sacrifice. When a card would destroy a monster, negate that effect, then send a level 3 or lower dark monster from my deck to the graveyard. Black mist formed a spiral barrier in front of Demise. Plasma Vice's lightning crashed against it, scattering golden sparks. Demise is invincible, and with the seal of Orichalcos, his ATK is 2900. Even your fusion hero can't beat him. Shell said. If once isn't enough, I'll do it again. Jaden shouted. Plasma Vice, activate effect. Discard a card to destroy an attack position monster. Destroy Demise, King of Armageddon. Shell was surprised, it has no activation limit, like Demise. That's right. Plasma Vice's effect can be used any number of times in a turn. Go. Plasma Thunder Strike. A golden bolt pierced Demise's chest, a huge hole opening in the demon's armor. He toppled over, engulfed in blue fire. Demise, King of Armageddon destroyed.
Thanks for listening.